ESPN2 baseball, most of you will see Jim Edmonds in the first place St. Louis Cardinals at Busch taking on division rival the Cincinnati.
It's very warm, very muggy as we celebrate an American tradition. Baseball on the 4th of July. It's SRO in Busch Stadium as we begin a series between the top two teams in the National League Central, a race that has yet to materialize. St. Louis by 8 games over the Cincinnati Reds as they prepare to start a holiday set of 3 here in St. Louis. And we welcome you. Hope you're having a great holiday so far. Dave Barnett and Rick Sutcliffe. And there is a glimmer of hope at last, perhaps, for the Cincinnati Reds, who have their first 2-game winning streak in a month. They won 3 out of 4 in Arizona. Do they need a sweep to truly make it a race here this week?
Well, if they don't get a sweep or at least win 2 out of 3, the Cincinnati Reds, as we know them, may completely dissolve. Barry Larkin, not in a red uniform, very well could happen if they don't get back in this thing, and they've got to do it with their starting pitching. They lost 11 out of 12 in the month of June. Their starters and their pen averaging 7 runs per game. They simply can't compete like that. But Pete Harnisch, in the first game in Arizona, gave this ball club a big lift. They're hoping that those 3 out of 4 against the Diamondbacks carries over into the Cardinal series.
Starting matchup today has a guy who has never been a good first-half pitcher, Andy Bennis, going against Jack McKeon's Cincinnati Reds, the National League Manager of the Year a year ago, and really struggling so far in 2000. A win away from the 500 mark as they begin play today. With this lineup, for the first time all season, hitting leadoff, Michael Tucker. He starts in left. Barry Larkin at short. Ken Griffey Jr. in center. Dante Bichette heating up of late. He is at cleanup in right field. Aaron Boone is hot, followed by Sean Casey. Eddie Taubensee, the catcher. Pokey Reese dropped all the way to the number 8 hole, hitting 171 over his last 12. And Ron Vallone, the left-hander, who has struggled as well, on the mound for Cincinnati. And Andy Bennis at 8-3, Rick, a 4.40 ERA in his 17th start. This is a guy who traditionally doesn't pitch this well until after the All-Star break.
And you know, Dave, what turned him around was a conversation in spring training with pitching coach Dave Duncan. Dave Duncan has so many strengths in that capacity. I think about Ken Bottenfield last year, an 18-game winner for the Cardinals, losing right now for the Anaheim Angels. What happened? Duncan taught Bottenfield that he was not a fastball pitcher anymore. He had to use all of his pitches. Even with the count 3-0, throw a changeup, throw a breaking ball. You need to do that to be effective. What did he do with Andy Bennis, with Darryl Kyle? Just exactly the opposite. He reminded them that they are fastball pitchers. They might not throw 95 anymore, but they still have to establish the fastball.
Well, for Tony La Russa, obviously a very pleasant surprise this first half by Andy Bennis.
I mean, he's got a lot of confidence that as he gets into the season, things improve. So you would think getting off to this good a start says a lot of good things for the rest of the year for us. But, you know, it's one of those deals where when you identify a problem, you know, he and Dunk went to work this spring. You know, hey, there's no reason you can't get off to a better start. And he's done his share, and then here lately we've been scoring a few runs for him.
Bennis, a career 57 and 72 in the first half. And in the second half, 74 and 47 if he is anywhere close to his usual post-All-Star break level. 20 wins, certainly a possibility. Michael Tucker steps in, and we're underway on the 4th of July at Busch Stadium, and we are happy you're with us, too. First of a long day of baseball here on ESPN2 and ESPN. A dozen games here and there. Tucker, as we said, hitting leadoff for the first time this year at .282. Batting average with 9 home runs. And Bennis hoping to just continue what he has established for himself in this first half. Behind the plate is Ron Culpa. Randy Marsh umpiring at first. Angel Hernandez is at second. Marty Foster at third. Reds winner of 3 of 4 over the weekend at Arizona. Day game yesterday, got here about 10 last evening. Their first 2-game winning streaks since they swept the Minnesota Twins a month ago. And there were some signs that Ken Griffey Jr. in the month of June was ready to break out of what, by his standards, at least in batting average, has been a season-long slump. And those signs turned the other direction in Phoenix. Tucker hoping to get on ahead of Larkin, and then Griffey. The 2-2 from Venice, and he got him with the slow breaking ball. The Cardinal defense, which welcomes Tatis back. He's returned from his torn groin muscle. And Edmonds, his usual spectacular self in center field.
Yeah, they were strong on the left side of the infield last year, but it's that guy in center field that's highlighted there that's really made a big difference, particularly to Darryl Kyle and today's starting pitcher, Andy Bennis. They're fly ball type pitchers, and with this guy in center field, most of the time those fly balls end up in leather.
Strike one to Barry Luckin, who will start another All-Star game voted in by the fans with the .325 average. 8 homers, 28 runs batted in. First base hit of the afternoon as he sends it to right center field. And Barry Larkin, 9 for his last 17 in 500 in the 4 games in Arizona.
Well, this is the part of the lineup right here that's going to do the damage for Cincinnati. All of these guys, the first 5 guys anyway, have been hot during the month of June. Now, why is Ken Griffey Jr. all of a sudden hitting over 300 again during the month of June? Because the guy behind him, Dante Bichette, has all of a sudden caught fire. When Bichette hits, Griffey Jr. is going to get pitches in the strike zone to hit, and then his numbers will start coming into place as we know them.
Had the average up near 250. And he fell off with a 1-for-13 series against the Diamondbacks over his last 6 games, 2 of 19. But the production about where it normally would be with 26 home runs, 64 driven in for Junior.
We've seen the same thing out of Andy Bennis here this afternoon that we've seen all year from him. That first pitch fastball, not overthrowing it, just putting it in a pretty good location.
Quickly ahead of Griffey, 0-2. Well, one team he has not struggled against at all this year. St. Louis, 366 of his 26 home runs. Twisted his right knee Saturday in the 4th inning. They insisted that he come out of the game. His dad, Ken Sr., briefly having words with him in the dugout, as a matter of fact, when he broke the news to him. Look, you're not staying in with all this riding on you.
I talked to Junior and Senior about that before today's game, and they said it's nothing different than when he was a 4 or 5-year-old kid. He was hard-headed then. He's hard-headed now. He wants to play every day. He wants to play every game. Senior says, I don't have a problem with that, but I knew he was hurting at that time. We needed to get him out of there and see how serious it was.
And as it turned out, a good decision. He was right back in the lineup the next day. Pops the 0-2 pitch to short center field, and Edmonds comes on and squeezes it for out number 2. Griffey and McGuire matched together over the holiday, and Griffey 0 for his first at bat against Bennis.
Look at the fastball right there being established. The old-fashioned, what we called climbing the ladder. Fastball on the inside corner for a strike, and then you just go up a step for the second one, go up that final step. If you don't get the 3rd strike, you get the easy pop-up as Bennis did.
So now Dante Bichette. And those numbers starting to look much more like what you expect from him after he hit .375 in the month of June. He raised his average from where Griffey still remains to near 300, and he has enjoyed his matchups with Bennis. .340 lifetime. Just missed Bichette at 90 miles an hour, and the count even at 1-1. This time a year ago, Bichette, a few more homers, 19 more runs batted in, but the average was about 20 points lower. Two balls and a strike. And you knew when he left Coors Field that there would be some drop-off. There has been in the power numbers, but with his month of June, the batting average going the other way. He has hit in the first 4 games on this trip, 14 of his last 16 games, 8 of those 16 multi-hit games. It's what the Reds have waited for all season. Somebody to pose a consistent, credible threat batting behind Ken Griffey Jr.
Just 2 completely different attitudes in the clubhouse before today's ball game. A lot of confidence A lot of smiles in the St. Louis clubhouse. A lot of concern in Cincinnati's clubhouse. Who's going to be where? What's going to happen with this ball club? I'm hearing Barry Larkin maybe going to Los Angeles. How about that? You think about the Big Red Machine and Dodger Blue going head to head all those years. Now that the divisions have been split up, I know the Dodgers and Reds not going against each other division-wise anymore, but Cincinnati Red like Barry Larkin in L.A. Denny Nagel. The next week is going to determine what happens with Denny Nagel. If they do not play well, Cincinnati, Denny Nagel is gone, possibly to Arizona.
Larkin off with the pitch, and the throw bounces in, not in time to get Larkin. Mike Matheny well above 50% this year.
Yeah, you can forget about his offensive average, 244. This guy has been a big asset for St. Louis this year. Not only does he call a good game, Tony La Russa says he's got terrific fingers. That means that normally what he puts down is what the pitcher's going to go with. Well, he can also throw pretty well. Larkin with a good jump there, a situation to run. Bennis's attention on the hitter, and Matheny still made it a close play.
11 on 16 attempts now for Larkin. Out of play for Bichette. Well, it's the way of the baseball world now. If you're not in contention and you're convinced by mid-late July you're not gonna be in contention, then you start marshaling your assets and checking the open market. Thinking about next year. Previously it would have been unthinkable. Barry Larkin in a Dodger uniform, almost any other uniform. Hit hard and just fouled by a couple of feet.
You know, the thing that makes me wonder is Cincinnati knew they had problems with their starting rotation when the season started, yet nothing has yet been done about that.
Based on last year, they might have expected that the bullpen would see a drop off because of so many innings. They again lead the majors in innings pitched out of the bullpen this year, but not getting the same level of productivity. That one bounced off Fernando Tatis, and Larkin will stay put at third. Another hard hit ball, but ruled an error on Tatis. Tatis out 54 games with a torn groin muscle, just returned to the last series.
You know, unless you've been on the infield and seen what that hop is like. Bichette with some top spin on it. It's going to bounce and come up. Plus it hit right there where the grass ends and the dirt begins. Tatis not knowing where it was going. He did a good job, though, to keep his body in front of it. We've seen some infielders try to olay that, step off the side and try to come up with it. Had he done that and it gotten through, Barry Larkin would have scored easily.
So a chance for Aaron Boone now to give the Reds an early lead. 12 home runs already. His career high last year, 14. He has homered 2 of his last 3 games. He'd love one here. Sunday, career high 5 RBIs. Not much success, however, for Boone against Bennis. Tatis gets another chance and handles it this time to get Bichette. So the Reds get a single, but Larkin cannot capitalize on Tatis's error, and the Cardinals are coming up in the first.
1-800-COLLECT presents Ava Save-A-Lot.
Stop! Don't move a muscle.
What?
You didn't dial 1-800-COLLECT, did you?
What's the difference?
Exercise your brain. 1-800-COLLECT saves the people you call at least $1 or $2, so their phone bills aren't so heavy.
Huh. Powerful argument. What's the number again?
1-800-COLLECT, as in collect calls. Easy, right?
Thanks.
Here, I'll get that.
1-800-COLLECT. Save a...
Jam-packed Busch Stadium. Standing room only for the 4th of July, and the Cardinals prepare to hit in the bottom of the first inning. Tony La Russa, 522 lifetime, and welcoming back some folks to health. He got Tatis back recently. They activated Fernando Vina today. However, he is not starting, and La Russa goes with this lineup. Edgar Renteria still leading off and playing short. Sean Dunston gets the start in left field ahead of Edmonds and McGuire. Eric Davis hitting better than 400 against lefties. Tatis, who comes back from the long layoff, 3 games back so far, only 200 but a homer and 3 RBIs. Craig Paquette has been filling in pretty admirably at second. Mike Matheny for the injured Eli Marrero, out 6 weeks now, torn ligament in his thumb. So he catches today and pretty much every day from here on in. And Ron Vallone, a 7-5 record, but an ERA near 6.
Yeah, he's been getting hit real hard. 86 2/3 innings, over 100 hits against him already. And the key to his success today, you don't want to let McGuire beat you. Everybody knows that. But if you don't pitch to McGuire, if you're careful with him, if you walk him, you've got to be able to get the next guy, which this afternoon is Eric Davis out.
One ball and one strike to Renteria. The most obvious difference you see as you look at the numbers for Renteria, Vallone this year 103 hits in 86 2/3 innings. Last year only 114 hits in 142 2/3. Not nearly the mastery for left-handed or right-handed batters than he showed a year ago. So bunt goes foul and it's 1-2. Some talk, in fact, Rick, that he didn't go a long way today. You may see Scott Williamson for a long stretch, if needed, maybe 4 or 5 innings, as a possible tryout for joining the rotation.
Yeah, I thought they made a mistake last year. People are going to say, what are you talking about? Scott Williamson won the Rookie of the Year. Well, he had always been a starting pitcher throughout his career. He started out in the bullpen, and a lot of us do. You've got to, earn your stars and stripes at that point. But once he did that, this guy has the 3 pitches needed to be a quality major league starter. And talking with him before the game, he would prefer to be in that role.
2-2 to Renteria. Little looper, which will land just inside the Cardinal dugout.
Plus another thing, I got a little history with Scott Williamson. I was a rookie league pitching coach in 1997 at Idaho Falls, and it was Williamson that pitched for the Billings Mustangs in that same league that beat us in the championship game. And because of that, he's wearing a Pioneer League championship ring, and I'm
you're not.
So we know he can start.
Clearly still eating at you, too. Another one back out of play. Well, Vallone will try to match one of his 2 previous starts against St. Louis. He is 1-1 and lost 1. May 5th, a winner 3-2. Last Thursday, a loser 12-3. Thursday gave up 7 runs, all earned, 8 hits in just 5+ innings.
Well, the thing that jumps out at you on those numbers is the fact that Vallone walked 8 guys, and on a hot, muggy afternoon like this, that's going to have an effect on his stamina and the possibility of him getting into the latter part of the ball game.
And it's about a hit per inning, but only the 6 earned runs. Renteria, after taking a couple of shots the other way, goes down to Tucker in left field for the first out. Cincinnati defensively, always turn your eyes to center field in Ken Griffey Jr.
I have to almost wonder what's wrong with the media there in Cincinnati for the criticism. This guy's playing Gold Glove caliber defense. He's driving in runs. He's hitting homers. He packs people in the ballpark, and he's doing it for about half the price that he could have done it somewhere else. Yet the criticism on Griffey Jr. is starting to wear on him a little bit. I just want to play. That's all.
Well, we walked into the clubhouse today. His head was in his hand, seemed to be deep in thought. Pretty depressed atmosphere around his locker. Not what he expected. Not what anybody in Cincinnati expected.
It was more like 25 individuals in that clubhouse, and then on the other side you had 25 guys pulling on the same side of the rope.
Vallone against Dunston, now ball in the strike. Sean Dunston, a big part of that offensive party that the Cardinals had against Vallone last Thursday. 2 for 5 with a homer, drove in 4 of his 25 RBI for the season. 1-1 just over the screen. Dunston's 22nd start of the year, most where he is today in left field. This is his 16th start out there. But a very valuable addition, and Walt Jocketty, you can't give too much credit for not only completely revamping the pitching situation for the Cardinals, but adding depth, which they've already had to use with some injuries. Another one out of play. You can use Dunston either way, lefty, righty, doesn't matter. 245 against both. There's Jocketty, Cardinal GM. This day and age, to do what he has done with their pitching staff, you would think almost impossible, especially over a one-year period. Brand new starting staff, much stronger bullpen. Dunston reaching for that one. 3 rows back, still a ball and 2 strikes.
I think if you ask Ron Vallone, this would be the type of hitter that he'd like to face all the time. Sean Dunston's only walked twice this year. And you can see that if he's going to swing at pitches like that, he doesn't go up there looking for something that he's going to take. He wants to put the bat on the ball, and Vallone has got good enough stuff that he can expand his zone and make it a difficult day for Sean.
You never know. This may be the day. A walk every 24 games for Dunston. Slow roller. Vallone handles it. And the ball not handled by Casey at first base. And Dunston safe with 1 out.
Dave, I tell you what makes this a tough play is the fact that Vallone hustled to get to it. And then he turned and he threw the ball way too hard. He could see where Dunston was. He did not have to throw it that hard nor that low. And when you get an afternoon like this with everybody wearing light colors, if you're the first baseman, obviously when you see that, how could he miss that throw? Well, a lot of times that baseball is coming out of somebody's white shirt and you just don't simply know exactly where it's at.
It is an error on Casey at first. That one gets by Eddie Taubensee, and jogging down to second is Sean Dunston. So Vallone should have 2 outs, nobody on as he faces Edmonds. Instead, 1 out and a man in scoring position.
And now that he gets to second base, it means that Mark McGwire is going to come to home plate during this inning.
A wild pitch. 57th of the year by the Cincinnati staff. On pace to shatter the team record and the major league record for wild pitching. Their pace is 111. The major league record is 94. So Edmonds enjoying his start in St. Louis so much, he's already re-upped. 6-year extension. About 6 weeks into his career. 1-1. Breaking ball misses, 2 balls and a strike to Edmonds.
Pretty much the same thing happened to Jim Edmonds that happened to Mark McGwire. He came to St. Louis, fell in love with the fans fell in love with him. So this is a place I want to be.
It's an old story. You saw it firsthand here for a year.
Sure did.
3-1.
Couldn't believe what great baseball fans they had here. I came from Chicago. I was, that Cubs-Cardinal rivalry. It was tough to put this uniform on, but these fans and their knowledge of baseball and their support of this ball club made it easy.
Well, with McGwire waiting, Edmonds ready for Vallone's 3-1. Left center field and deep, and Tucker looks up, and it is in the bullpen. Home run number 23 for Edmonds.
Last year, the Anaheim Angels, Jim Edmonds was only able to play 55 games. They thought that, you know what, maybe things have changed. Maybe he's not the player that he was the 4 years before that. Well, the 4 years before that, 95 to 98, over a 300 average, 27 homers, almost 100 runs scored per year. That's the Jim Edmonds St. Louis has now.
So McGwire bats already with a 2-0 lead. Call it 386 feet into the red pen by Edmonds. Now McGwire, whose next homer will be his 31st of the year. First player in history to have 30 or more 4 different seasons before the All-Star break. faster than ever this year when you factor in time spent injured and relatively few at bats to get into third. "15 games he's missed. A .300 average as he begins play today. 1-2 pitch pops straight up. Finding the sun is Casey, and he's got it for the second out. Well, Ron Vallone, in his good outing against St. Louis, surrendered back-to-back shots in the fourth inning. Edmonds tied it at 1 apiece, and then Veritek's batter McGuire hit the longest home run in the history of Synergy Field. They measured it at 473 feet in the upper deck. After that, Vallone did not surrender another hit, and the Reds came back and won it 3-2. You kind of get all or nothing out of Vallone. He's a guy that can give you a very low hit, long inning appearance, or get battered early, and both have happened to him this year.
Well, the frustrating part for the Cincinnati Reds, and in particular the pitching coach Don Gullett, it's a mechanical thing with Ron Vallone. Big, strong guy, was a tight end, played college football, but sometimes that strength goes against him. He fights himself and he overthrows. There's a couple of ways to get people out. You don't have to go in and out all the time. You can add a little bit and you can subtract a little bit. That's the one part that Ron Vallone has not learned, to take a little bit off.
2 balls and a strike now to Eric Davis. Another valuable guy they can run in and out. Edmonds in center and Davis right next to him in right field today. The notion on that one holds up, and it's 3-1. A .305 average for Davis, but against left-handed pitching, .420. 21 for 50 with half of his 6 home runs.
Hey, that's part of that system you talked about that Walt Jocketty set up with this ball club. When you got a left-handed pitcher, you've got Eric Davis to come play. You got right-handers on the mound. He's got J.D. Drew on the bench this afternoon. Ray Lankford's there. Thomas Howard, who's a switch hitter, can go from both sides. Just tremendous balance to the bench for Tony La Russa late in the ballgame.
Davis earns his 22nd walk of the year. And with 2 outs and 2 runs in, Fernando Tatis welcomed back in the last series. When he went out with the torn groin back on April 29th, he was leading the National League with 28 RBIs in just 22 games. Missed 54 games. Now he was injured. He also had a career-best 13-game hit streak working. And activated and stuck right back in at third base and hitting 6th again this afternoon. Probably out of the strike zone, went after it anyway, and 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, most of the headlines are going to be about Mark McGuire, and rightfully so, Jim Edmonds and the power that he's produced. But what terrific shape the St. Louis Cardinals are in on that left side of the infield for the next 5-10 years to come. Tatis, Renteria, terrific athletes, offense, defense, and the best part for me, Dave, is that they play every day. 154 games last year for Renteria, 149 for Tatis. If it's not a bad injury, they're going to have their name in the lineup.
Well, the long first inning continues for Vallone. His 32nd pitch lined off the glove of Boone at third, and Tatis aboard. Hard shot and a base hit, and Davis moves down to second.
It should go as a base hit, but this is a play that Aaron Boone would have made had Ron Vallone been throwing strikes. But you walk the guy before, you fall behind this guy, you add a wild pitch, you add an error, and it gets tough to play defense. Boone could have gotten this ball. He gets leather on it, but you start to fall back on your heels. You don't anticipate the baseball being hit at you, because more times than not, it's not.
Now Craig Paquette gets a shot at increasing the 2-0 Cardinal lead. First pitch. Boone hoped it would go foul. It never did. It's an infield single for Paquette. They are loaded up. Well, this isn't the season in microcosm for both teams. St. Louis getting some breaks, but making some of their own breaks, too. Boone making a decision here that didn't go his way.
Well, there's really not much he could do right there. He was playing deep to respect the power of Paquette. He knew he wasn't going to lay down a bunt with 2 outs and a man on second, but it was the swinging bunt that got him. He hoped that the ball got to him in time to make the force play at third. If not, he hoped the spin took it to the foul part of the fair line there, and neither one of those happened.
8th batter to hit the Cardinal first, catcher Mike Matheny at 244.
And see, here's another thing, too. It is hot out there on that field. Much better now than it was when they had AstroTurf here at Busch Stadium. But that Cincinnati Red Ball Club has been out there for a long time. You mentioned they got in late last night. And where have the Cardinals been? Well, the ones that aren't on base are in a nice air-conditioned clubhouse.
And enjoy the day off. Lined up the middle, base hit. Davis is home, followed by Tatis. No throw from Griffey, 4-0. Mike Matheny drives in 21 and 22 on the year for him in an inning that should have ended. Continues on, unearned runs because of the error by Casey at first.
Mike Matheny just brought over here to be a backup catcher and play defense. Some timely hitting on his part. 22 RBIs on the year. Only hitting 188 coming into today's ball game with runners in scoring position. That tells you how much Ron Ballone's struggling right now.
Andy Bennett certainly didn't expect it to bat in the first inning. He has a home run, but hit only 114 for the year. Didn't rip at that one. 4-run first, 3 of the 4 runs unearned off Ron Balone. And Williamson, who we mentioned might get a good long outing early if Balone struggled, is preparing for just that. 1-1 to Bennis. Dunston reaching on the air by Casey. Would have been 2 outs, nobody on for Edmonds. Instead, he followed with a 2-run home run. They get McGuire to pop to first. Davis walks. Tatis a single. Paquette the infield single, and Matheny drives it for a 2-run single. So a series at Cincinnati entered thinking minimum 2 out of 3. Optimum. Even if you sweep, you're still 5 games out, but at least you have some momentum. Off to a murderous start. And Balone not out of it yet. The 1-2 rides high. And Andy Bettis now 2-2. Bettis is a pitcher with some power. 7 career home runs. Not sure where that missed. It's a tough strike zone Ron Culper's throwing out there.
I think with the exception of shaking everybody's hand after getting the last out on a complete game, the best feeling for a starting pitcher is to get to come to home plate. Now, this being the National League, obviously, in the first inning. I mean, that's a good sign right there for you.
3-2 is back in the screen. No worse than a 4-0 lead when Bettis retakes the mound of the second inning.
You can just see all of the defensive guys for the Cincinnati Reds walking around, trying to stay loose, wiping sweat off their forehead, their arms, their hand. It's just been a long inning for all of them.
Well, runs the count full on the pitcher. And another one back. And well out of play. Pitch count for Balone. With 2 outs in the first inning, 42 pitches.
You know, even the first guy that he retired, Edgar Renteria, worked the count, got it to 2-2, fouled off some pitches, did his job as a leadoff guy, even though he didn't get on base.
That's ball 4, and they are loaded. And the Cardinals bat around in the first. Don Gullett out for a word. Vallone's defense, that third ball looked awfully good on the outside corner, just above the knees.
Yeah, but it gets so hard for an umpire to look for anything on the corners when everything else you're throwing is going everywhere else. You can't blame that. You can't expect that call when you're not consistent and in those areas. Don Gullett going out there just trying to get Ron Vallone through this first inning. No question that Williamson is ready right now, but if you cannot get him stretched out a little bit, not only does it devastate your bullpen for today's game, but it's going to have an effect on the rest of the series.
Top of the order, Renteria. After setting off to a very innocent start, driving a 2-2 pitch high to Tucker in left field. Loaded up with 2 outs, and he looks at ball 1. Good start for Vallone, no problem in May, and it turned with a vengeance in June. Didn't like July too terribly much either so far. There's a strike.
One of the things that went for him today, though, was that he's 3-1 on the road with an ERA of 3.99. Has struggled a lot, though, in Cincinnati. 4-4 record, an ERA just under 7.5.
Going the other way, and foul. Renteria with a bid to empty the bases.
Ball not fouled by a whole lot, but that distance may be the difference in this series. If this ball's fair, it's 7-0, and Cincinnati is just devastated. 6-7 feet off the right field foul line, but the second strike here in this at bat, and hopefully on the way to Ron Vallone getting him out. If you're Don Gullett, that's the way you feel.
Renteria just 7 of 49. The bases loaded. Vallone ahead of him 1-2. Left center field hit pretty well in the gap, headed to the wall. Ground rule double, and it is 6-0 Cardinals in the first inning. He had 2 strikes on the pitcher, Andy Bennis, and walked him. He was ahead of Renteria with 2 strikes, and he can't finish him off either.
They come at you. The St. Louis Cardinal lineup, terrific balance, power from top to bottom, and on a day like this, that includes the pitcher, Andy Bennis.
Ron Vallone does not last the first inning. Fireworks early in St. Louis, where it's 6-0. Ron Vallone is history, maybe as a starter for the rest of this year. He leaves with a 6-0 deficit, only 1 of the runs earned. Runners on second and third as Scott Williamson takes over for the day, and who knows, maybe ultimately in the Reds rotation. Sean Dunston, first batter to face the second Red pitcher of the afternoon. Numbers for Williamson. Last year's National League Rookie of the Year, 12-7 with 19 saves. Up into the upper deck and out of play for a ball and a strike to Dunston. Renteria at second after the 2-run ground rule double. Bennis at third after he walked. Inning started to fall apart when Dunston reached on the error at first base by Sean Casey.
The last 6 St. Louis Cardinals have reached base safely.
Good off-speed pitch, 1-2.
I mean, if you're a big guy like Sean Casey and you've been out there in this sun that long, you can lose 3 or 4 pounds just standing around. Well, it's the same old story for Ron Vallone here this afternoon. It's been the base on ball all year long. 49 walks coming into this game, only 39 strikeouts. Not good numbers.
1-2 by Dunston on the left side, and Boone at last putting a merciful inning to the Cardinal first. It all started on the air by KC. 5 unearned runs, 6-0. Deliriously happy after their first inning, and we're just getting started with 4th of July baseball here on the ESPN Family Network. Still to come here on ESPN2, 7 p.m. Braves host the Expos, and then at 10 p.m. the first place Seattle Mariners visit the Anaheim Angels. Meanwhile, over on ESPN at 4 p.m. an NL West battle, Rockies and the Giants play game 1 of a day-night doubleheader. Some will see the Tigers and Devil Rays. At 8 p.m. following SportsCenter, it's the Diamondbacks and the Astros from Houston, or the White Sox and Royals from Kansas City. Of the 16 games around the majors today, ESPN and ESPN2 are broadcasting a combined 12. And then throw on ESPN Radio, and we're all over 4th of July baseball. Sean Casey would love to have the first inning back. His error at first opened the gates for a 6-run St. Louis inning. 5 of them ended up unearned. And as you look around, the rest of baseball is going to see the score go out. Big Mac must have gone deep, probably 2-3-run home run, maybe a slam. He did not have a hit. He had no part in that early onslaught by the Cards. Pop to first. Just about the only Cardinal who didn't contribute in some way.
Well, he's done more than his part since
he's earned an inning or 2 off in his stay here. Inside 2-1 from Bennis to Casey.
Even when you don't get Big Mac out, the stress that his at-bats put on you as a pitcher take their toll.
Up the middle and a base hit for Casey. Second hit against Bennis. Let's check in with John Butchiegrass in the studio.
Thank you, guys. Let's go to the Bronx and Chuck Knobloch. He's had throwing problems this year, no hitting problems here. He believes he has a home run to get the Yankees to within 1, but B.J. Surhoff, a groovy kind of glove left. Then Mark Lewis chases David Cone, a 3-run homer, another homer for the Orioles, their 4th of the afternoon. Cone's gone.
David Cone's struggles continue. Looking like he's very near the end.
As do the New York Yankees' struggles continue. Now, they're nowhere near the end, but this has been a club that has been spoiled with starting pitching the last 3 or 4 years. They've always had a guy they felt like could go out there and win. That guy has not been there for him.
So they're doing without the usual David Cone. Roger Clemens spending time on the DL, along with El Duque, yet still in the race. It's as tight as people expected the National League Central to be. 3-team race with the Orioles just 8.5 back. They're showing no signs of entering it, getting serious.
Well, don't look for the Toronto Blue Jays to slow down. Main thing about that club, David Wells winning his 14th game yesterday. They've got that #1 starter. Gives them 7, 8, 9 innings each time out. That keeps your bullpen fresh. It's just exactly the opposite for the Cincinnati Reds here this afternoon. They don't have that one guy that can go out there and give you a complete game. Give the bullpen the full day completely off and keep them fresh over the course of the season.
Ball strike 3. Second strikeout for Bennis. So Taubensee retired with Casey aboard.
Big Train locating that fastball. And you know, he's just got so much confidence in pitching coach Dave Duncan. He had a lot of success when he was here with St. Louis to begin with. It was a contract dispute and a timing thing that kept him from staying here. Ended up going to Arizona for a couple of years. Part of the Diamondbacks rotation last year during the season, 13-game winner, but was not kept on the playoff roster.
Pokey Reese hitting 8th. 1 ball and a strike. Start of the year, they're talking, well, how long is he going to stay near 400? Well, not long, as it turned out. He hit only .212 in June. He starts at .269 today. First 36 games. Near the 330 mark, and he's entered a slump and cannot shake it. So Tucker leading off. Reese dropped all the way to the 8th spot today. First time all season that Michael Tucker has hit leadoff. Right down the middle, but he pops it in foul territory for McGuire. 2 outs. So with Reese retired, Scott Williamson, who no doubt did not expect to come to the plate in the 2nd inning, much less be on the mound, but Malone never got to the plate. Departed after just 2/3 of an inning and 47 pitches, and for the first time this season, Scott Williamson will swing a bat.
Well, I told you from my past experience watching Williamson as a starting pitcher at the minor league level, he can do that. But we had a designated hitter there in the Pioneer League. I don't know if he hit or not. We'll take a look at it. Let's look at him laying off the breaking ball there.
Williamson this time last year preparing for the All-Star game as a rookie. And as it turned out, the rookie in the National League. 1-2. His last outing a week ago against St. Louis, just 1 inning. Perfect 6th inning. Let's hope to get a lot out of him this afternoon. Save some other relievers. First time through the order, Bentis allowing only 2 hits. 1 out single by Larkin in the 1st and a leadoff single by Casey here in the 2nd. Couple of breaking balls, and Williamson lays off again out of the zone. 2-2. Bentis now 32, will turn 33 next month. 2nd time in his career that as a free agent he opted for St. Louis. Opted out of the last year of his contract with Arizona to get back here. Just missing the outside corner. Either pitcher's been an automatic out so far. Bentis worked a 3-2 walk. Keep that Cardinal first going. And trying to prevent Williamson from doing the same. Walked it. 2 on with 2 outs in the 2nd. Well, give Williamson patience points at the plate.
Well, you give him some points for that, laying off the breaking ball down, but Andy Bentis has got to be wondering himself right here, why didn't I just throw it for a strike? A guy that's not had an at-bat all year, throw the little get-over breaking ball rather than trying to throw that good sharp slider, getting Williamson to expand the zone. Not only his first at-bat of the year, but Williamson 0 for 7 in his career. 7 at-bats obviously coming last year.
6 of those 7 at-bats strikeouts. 2nd career walk. Now Tucker.
You know, normally 7 at-bats is not enough to really establish any kind of a trend or anything, but when 6 of them are strikeouts,
that's a trend.
That could be.
Tucker with his strikeout to start things in the 1st inning, 3 for his last 22. Trying to get something brewing here with a 6-run deficit staring the Reds in the face in this first of a 3-game series. Maybe season determining series, at least in terms of the direction of the franchise from here on in. 1-2 to Tucker. If you're the Reds, you have to think at bat by at bat, pitch by pitch, to play the way they're going to have to get back in the race, and yet the distractions work against that with all the speculation surrounding the future from position by position. Will they dismantle? Will they give up on 2,000 before it's really even halfway done? Tucker will be retired again. He pops it to Renteria. A hit and a walk, but the Reds can't score off Venice, and the power bats up in the second for St. Louis of 6-0.
ESPN2's Major League Baseball is brought to you by Pemmican Beef Jerky. Need some help to get you through the day? Pack Pemmican Beef Jerky, and you'll survive the day.
Just beyond the left field fence here at Busch Stadium, the Gateway Arch. Powered by the Mississippi River. Cardinals 6-0. We move to the bottom of the second inning, and Edmonds, McGuire, Davis hitting for the second time on the 4th of July with an SRO crowd. Somewhere 48,000 packed into Busch. Edmonds, the key early blow in the 6-run first for the Cardinals. A 2-run home run immediately after Sean Casey's error allowed Sean Dunston to reach it first. 23rd of the year. RBI total at 54. And Edmonds also continues his own club record pace for scoring runs. His pace coming into the day was for 148 runs for the year. The club record, there aren't many older than this one. Rogers Hornsby in 1922 scored 141.
Edmonds has always been one of those guys that seemingly goes to home plate looking for just one pitch. Kind of a guess type hitter. With all of the home runs that he's hit, 23 now, obviously he guesses right for the most part, but the 91 times that he's struck out this year means that occasionally he's wrong.
Well, Doherty guessing right by bringing him in when there were a lot of doubts around baseball about whether Edmonds could stay healthy, whether he was a true team player. Whispers to the opposite effect surrounded him in Anaheim. A lot of teams kicking themselves right now with the first half that he's enjoyed.
Well, it cost Doherty an 18-game winner. Also a pretty good-looking second baseman, and Adam Kennedy playing well for Anaheim, but he knew that he had depth in that starting rotation. He brought over today's starter Bennis, Darryl Kyle, Pat Hinken. He had his innings guy.
Ball 4 to Edmonds. Williamson begins the second with a base on balls. The third issued by Cincinnati. Malone gave up 2, including 1 to the pitcher Bennis, which kept that first inning going for St. Louis. And now Big Mac, who, as we said, had no part in it, surprisingly popped to first. He'll hit with Edmonds aboard at first base.
Well, even Big Mac noticed over the winter what a great job the general manager Walt Doherty had done after he acquired the third starter over the winter. Big Mac took time to make a phone call, called the general manager and said, hey, you've done your job. Now it's time for us to do ours.
And they're doing that. Williamson with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. The appeal at first base, and Randy Marsh says no, 1-0.
See, I think that the big thing that's got to change for Williamson right here. We'll take a look. Did he go or not? Awful close, but when you're Randy Marsh, you're in St. Louis, and you got to spend the rest of the afternoon with Big Mac. I got to call it the same way myself.
You're in a place where the batting practice attendance is greater than the game attendance in quite a few cities around the major leagues. And they don't just show up. They ring the top 3 or 4 rows and they stand, and it's like Bruce Springsteen taking the microphone and Mark McGuire strides to the plate, even in BP. And multiply that by about 20 per game. Williamson had Edmonds picked off, and the throw sails into the stands, allowing Edmonds to take third.
Dave, just a youngster's mistake right here. When he turned and he saw Edmonds off and running, his focus was on Edmonds. Young pitchers out there have got to learn. You're not throwing the ball at Edmonds. You're throwing it to the first baseman. So even though he's off, your focus has to be on that glove. You take your eyes from the glove that the catcher has on, and you put them on the glove of the first baseman. Casey had it out there. That's where he wanted it. Instead, Williamson's eyes went to the runner. The throw went into the first base stands.
And they only give Edmonds second base. He was all too willing to take third. Already down there. They move him back. And see the McGuire shift heavily on the left side. 2-0 pitch driven hard to right center field and a base hit. And Edmonds will come around and make it 7-0 as McGuire digs for second and is safe with a double.
I'll promise you right now, manager Tony La Russa is wishing Big Mac would have just stayed there at first base. But it's the only way Big Mac knows how to play the game. He knows it's not out of the park, but when he sees it get past Griffey Jr., he's got to run. He's hustling. That's all he's got right there. Tagging the base, I've got to go. I've got to get to second base. The ball hit the wall. Well, you know what? It's 7-0. If your pitching staff cannot hold that lead, then you can forget about winning anything anyway. Big Mac just needs to stay healthy for these St. Louis Cardinals to get to the postseason.
Ball 1 to Eric Davis. Walked and scored in the first. RBI number 67 for Mark McGuire.
But he just doesn't know how to play the game any other way. He knows that if he gets to second base, now he's in scoring position for the next hitter.
The few hits he's had this year that have not gone to left field. He's had only 9 to right field. That one actually fielded by Griffey right center.
I think sometimes the velocity of a guy like Scott Williamson will make that happen. This guy throws hard, 98, 99 miles an hour from time to time.
Davis waving at that one out of the zone, and it's 1-2. Even if you're Mark McGuire, if you don't get to second base on a ball off the wall, do you hear about it in the dugout good-naturedly when you get back?
Oh, well, they're all going to talk about it among themselves, but they're going to make sure McGuire can't hear it. No, there's a lot of guys on that team. We saw it before the game. Everybody joking, having a good time.
Clubhouse like that last year. Called strike 3. Davis down on strikes. Let's check in with John Buccigross.
Pirates up 1-0, looking to add to their lead. First and second, 2 outs. Brian Giles weakly to third. Mean Willie Green makes the play. Giles safe. Adrian Brown keeps running, and Mark Grace guns him down. So the score remains 1-0. Cubs threatening.
Well, here the Cardinals threatening to add to a 7-0 lead. McGuire still at second base, a run in. And 1 out on the Davis strikeout as Fernando Tatis steps in. Single scored in the 6-run first. Williamson, as usual, in the 92, 95 mile-an-hour range with his fastball.
Well, that's the thing that's going to have to change with him if he's going to be a starting pitcher. His comfort zone with that fastball is going to be 89 to 91. He's not Pedro Martinez or Randy Johnson that can go out there and throw 96 for 7, 8, 9 innings.
Through 93 1/3 innings last year, Reds relievers Williamson, Graves, Manny Ibar, who's DL'd right now, and Scott Sullivan are 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the National League in relief innings pitched this year. And as a starter in the minors, that feels he has the type endurance to make that transition. Never relieved in the professional level until spring training last year.
Well, you think about all those innings out of their bullpen, and a lot of the press, a lot of the people wonder, what's Jack McKeon doing? Is he trying to wear that part of the club out? Well, Jack McKeon simply doesn't have a choice. Last year, the starting pitchers for the Reds, only the Milwaukee Brewers averaged fewer innings per start than Cincinnati.
2-2 to Tatis. This year, only the Padres and the Reds are still without a complete game in the entire staff. Franchise record, in fact, every game that goes on for the rest of this year until they finally get one for Cincinnati. Games without a complete game. The record was 80 3 years ago. They were named 82 today. Tatis holds up. Randy Marsh confirms. Full count.
One of the guys that might bring that streak to a halt is Pete Harnisch. He came back in that first game against Arizona, really gave this ball club a lift, carried them through to winning 3 out of 4 in that series. Pete will be on the mound tomorrow.
Tatis hits it a long way, but foul. That one hugged the line and left for just a while and started hooking. Still 3-2. Well, they started the year. They thought we'll take one more look here at the drive by Tatis.
A lot of the fans might be looking at the third base umpire for the call, but you can just watch the hitter. He'll let you know. Kind of like when you hook that drive off the tee box. You don't need to follow it. Just reach in your pocket, grab another ball.
Tee up another one. Try again.
Reload. Hope you got a mulligan left.
Cardinals have been reloading to the tune of 4 out of 6 with runners in scoring position and 5 RBI in their 7-0 lead. That one almost hits Fernando. So he has been aboard both his appearances. 2 on with 1 out. Second baseman. And Craig Paquette will be the bat. Jack McKeon's winningest pitcher is also his closer. Danny Graves not only leads him in saves but in victories. That more than anything else tells you about the state of their staff this year.
Well, the thing that's hard to understand, Dave, is that they knew it in spring training. They knew that there was a weakness in that area, and they weren't able to fill it. So I don't think the fact that this team's struggling should be any surprise to anybody there. You can bring a guy like Ken Griffey Jr. over, and he's going to produce runs. But you know what? He can be pitched around. You can intentionally walk a guy like that 4 times. And if you don't have people around him doing some things offensively, that starting pitching problem is going to be like a sore thumb. It's just going to stand out.
Breaking ball misses 1-1. The state of the rotation. Fairly pleasant surprise for Fernandez. 2-2. Nagel has been the horse. 7-2. Paris, huge drop off to 3-11. Malone lasted 2/3 of an inning today, and they get Harnisch back off the DM. They get less than 6 innings per game from their rotation.
There are a lot of teams right now that are looking at Denny Nagel. They think that the Cincinnati Reds may fold up the tent. He may become available. Heard that the Arizona Diamondbacks have offered a couple of top prospects.
Harris, after his win yesterday, now 4-11. Paquette down on strikes. Both outs this inning have been strikeouts for Scott Williamson. So 2 outs with still 2 on, and McMatheny will be the hit.
Williamson has got great numbers in that strikeout area. That's 80 on the year now, just right at 54 innings pitched. The problem for him, if he's going to be a starter, will be that base on balls. He's also walked 2 this inning, 44 now, and just 54 innings. So that total will have to go down a little bit for him to be effective in this role.
Strike 1 to Matheny. Add all that up, and the Reds play some long games. We're over an hour into this one, and yet to get through the 2nd inning. Andy Bennis may bat twice before he takes the mound 3 times in this game. Matheny can keep it going. Outside corner, 0-2. Eli Marrero, as we said, out 6 weeks, torn ligament in his thumb.
See, Bennis is supposed to be out on the on-deck circle. If the Reds wanted to make that happen, they could complain to the home plate umpire, make him come out there and stand in the heat like everybody else.
Smart enough not to do it unless he absolutely has to. Game began, there was cloud cover. That really helped keep the overall heat effect down, and now mostly blue sky above Busch. There later on may be some rain showers. There's a flash flood warning in the area. Rain could be moving in, but not anytime soon, it looks like. Really breezy too, that's helping. 1-2 pitch is grounded to Larkin. Tatis is forced and through 2 complete innings at last. 7-0 with Larkin, Griffey, and Bichette due up to try to get the Reds started. With the Reds desperately needing something to get started against Andy Benes. They've managed only 2 hits so far. Larkin had the first. Then stole second, got as far as third in the first inning before the roof caved in very early against Ron Ballone and the Reds.
Barry gives a lot of credit to his conditioning now to a new workout routine. He's talking about it, saying how he works out all year round now.
Foul territory. Does McGuire have enough room? Not quite. Just over the top, and it's 0-2. Larkin, one of the elder Reds, spokesman of sort, and not long ago said there's a lot of things tugging at us. The media will know soon enough. It has been a tough year.
Well, I think what they're talking about is the fact that he has told the front office that he doesn't want to deal with his contract issue during the second half of the season. Let's get it over with. If you haven't made up your mind now whether you want me around or not, well, then let's just forget about it, play the second half of the year, and see what happens.
All around on that one, says Randy Marsh on the appeal, and a 3-pitch strikeout by Benes to retire Larkin.
I just find it real hard to believe. We'll take a look at the swing. And, you know, had that been in Cincinnati, it might not have been a call.
Or had it been Mark McGuire here, definitely a ball. Larkin, the 3rd strikeout victim.
But you've also got Big Mac down there, a swing a lot like that one that wasn't called. But you know what? Randy Marsh has got to spend half the day down there within about 20 feet of Big Mac. So, I mean, Randy Marsh is a smart man. That's a borderline. I mean, it could go either way, and they do.
The Reds ought to be up there hacking. Strike 1 to Griffey. Fly to Edmonds in center his first time up. And you see the shortstop Renteria on the right side of the infield to join Paquette and McGuire. Only Tatis on the left side.
And how to let a hitter know a lot of times too what he's going to see. He's going to be pitched hard in and soft away. There's the soft away. He got him out the first time up on nothing but hard fastballs in. And the charts show, and nobody charts a team, an opposing team, any better than Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa do, that when Griffey Jr. hits the ball on the ground, that he pulls the baseball. You keep the outfield straight up, though, because he's got power to all fields. What a showcase piece there. Fastball up and away. Sometimes followed back up with another off-speed pitch. He wants to go away with the fastball.
Took a little off that time and just missed the corner by a little. Griffey running the count full.
I think Matheny had the right idea. Matheny put down the breaking ball. That's what he wanted. Now 3-2. You got a big lead.
Another walk for Griffey. On a career high pace and a club record pace in bases on balls.
Take a look at how he goes about this at bat. It's a breaking ball for the strike. All right, now you're going to show him something in, get him off the plate. All right, there's a change up down. All right, you got 2 strikes now. There's a showpiece. Fine. Go back to the breaking ball down. No, he tries to paint the. Look at where Griffey is. He is out over the outer part of the plate. If it's a strike, he's going to hit that ball a long ways. Matheny wanted the breaking ball. Benes shook him off, and they'll probably talk about it in between innings.
So Griffey walks for the 70th time. That's second in the league behind only Mark McGuire, 72. Dante Bichette reached on an error by Tatis. Shot off his glove. Goes through the hole on the right side this time, and a base hit for Bichette will move Griffey quickly around to third base with 1 out. There's some nice placement hitting by Dante.
Third baseman.
Maybe a rally for the Reds into third.
The only problem right now for Cincinnati, though, is that when you get to the latter part of this lineup, There's a major drop-off in production. Look at Junior right there. What's to criticize about that guy? He could have jogged and stayed there at second base. A hot day. He's been playing defense all afternoon, but he knows. He knows if I get down to third, I can pick up an easy RBI with only one out for Aaron Boone. So I'll hustle.
And the drop-off beyond Boone really noticeable. He has 12 home runs. The next 4 hitters behind him have a total of 13 between them. Casey 4, Taubensee 4, Reese 5, and then the pitcher. Bit of a mystery where Casey's run production's gone over the last 12 months after his huge first half. A lot of pitches for Bendis to still be 1 out in the third. His 56th of the afternoon misses. All in a strike to Boone. A nice power run, as we said, 2 homers in his last 3 games, and if he can continue that, it would really come in handy for the Reds here. Not knowing how many chances they will have with runners in scoring position, the way Bendis has been pitching, and the way La Russa's offense has been percolating.
I think Boone's a guy too that'll benefit from hitting in a better spot in the lineup. He was always a 3rd or 4th place hitter at the minor league level.
To right field, and coming on hard is Davis, and he comes up with it on the dive. Griffey tags and scores. Boone sac fly, and a star by that one by still young looking Eric Davis in right field.
You know, he's young looking, watching him make this play, but we all had a pretty good laugh before the game when he came out of the trainer's room with heat packs, ice bags, shoulder wraps. I mean, he looked like a mummy. He had so many wraps on him getting ready to play in this afternoon's ball game. And I would imagine after that head first dive and fine play, he'll probably find another place for an ice pack when the game's over with.
It was a little surprising there was any tape left for anybody else on the team, the way he was wrapped, and also surprising he was able to walk with that much. Just about every joint and extremity had some form of adhesive or gauze or whatever he could grab, but well worth it because it keeps him out there. Veteran Eric Davis. So Bichette having to stay at first as Griffey scored on the sac fly. There's a drive by Casey and a base hit. Edmonds will return it. Bichette along to third. Casey 2 for 2 with a pair of base hits. And let's check in with John Buccigross.
Thanks, Dave. And Russell Branyan is the greatest hitter in the world right now. 71st at bat of the year, his 10th homer. That's like 80 for a full season. Cleveland's threatening. They're down by just 1 now with runners on.
You know what that is? That is exactly Mark McGwire's home run pace. 1 every 7.1 at bats.
Yeah, but isn't McGwire's pace for a career?
Pretty much. That's his pace this year. Not too far off of that for his career. Run in for the Reds, first and third with 2 outs for Taubensee. Second of Bendis' 3 strikeout victims, his first time up.
This is the
ball back to the screen.
This is the real question mark for me for Cincinnati. Taubensee's always been a good offensive guy. Hit 300 last year, developed some power. But boy, this year the offense has just not been there. 263, only 4 homers, only 18 RBIs, and 150 in June.
And this at bat trying to end an 0 for 18 slump. It's 40 games about normal. A little better than normal.
I heard the name Charles Johnson mentioned in the Cincinnati Red clubhouse. Trying to make a deal, bring him over. Baltimore Orioles.
That name's been mentioned in quite a few clubhouses.
Might even be mentioned in St. Louis right now with their young catcher Eli Marrero going down. He's supposedly out for at least 6 weeks. But whether Walt Jocketty needs to make a move and go out and pick up the catcher to get through that period of time might be dictated with this series here. They win 2 out of 3. Knocked the Reds back to 9 games out going into the All-Star break. I feel pretty confident about their chances.
2-2. You would think that they'd feel that way. This lead by St. Louis, 8 games coming in. And Cincinnati, after they swept Minnesota a month ago, had a half-game lead over the Cardinals. There's another base hit. Left center field for Taubensee, who drives home Dante Bichette, trying to take third, and making it is Casey. So Taubensee makes it 7-2 with his 19th RBI, and he ends at 0 for 18.
You know, we saw it earlier with Ken Griffey Jr. going from first to third on a ball that he might not have had to it. We see it once again. Sean Casey, when he saw Edmonds bobble the ball, he said, I'm going to see what I can do. There's several more ways you can score from third base with 2 outs than you can from second. A wild pitch, an error on the infield, a balk, lots of things that can happen, and you've got to hustle to get into that position. And only because he was safe does it turn out to be a good hustle play. You get thrown out there, you're in trouble.
Pokey Reese fouls one back out of play. It is an error on Edmonds. A bobble allowing Casey to take third. Taubensee does get the RBI to score Dante Bichette. 7-2. Hal Morris in the pitcher's spot if Reese can keep the inning going. Reese in almost as deep a slump as Taubensee. So again, that drop off you're talking about. Casey has not been anywhere near the hitter he was in the first half last year. Nor Taubensee nor Reese from the first half this year. He waves at that one out of the zone. There's 1-2.
Veteran pitcher like Andy Bennis will know that Pokey Reese is struggling even more so than Pokey himself. And when you got a guy that needs to get some hits to get out of it, it makes it easy to get that guy out. Don't throw him anything in the strike zone. Up and in, down and away.
And finish him off 92 at the knees. 4th strikeout for Andy Bennis. But the Reds break through with 2 runs on 3 hits. In their half of the third, it's 7-2 at Busch. Bad idea. Maybe we give to aim one up here. He's not having a hard time getting volunteer victims at all on a very muggy day. Humidity even 8 this morning, already in the 90% range. Temperature expected to hover in the 90s as well. 7-2 lead for the Cardinals. Their half of the third. With the bottom of the order, Andy Bennis batting for the second time. He walked to keep the 6-run first going. And Renteria to be followed by Dunston. 5 of those 6 runs unearned for the Cardinals. They have 7 on 6 hits. They have committed 2 errors. Tatis and Edmonds. 2-5-1 for the Reds. Their error extremely costly. Second batter of the game, Casey, dropping a throw would have made it no on 2 outs for Ron Vallone, and instead it was Dunston reaching, followed by Edmonds' home run, and the route to this point was on for Jack McKeon and the Reds. Second full inning of relief for Scott Williamson, who finished off that first. Begins with a strikeout of Andy Bennis. Sunday Night Baseball stops off with the conclusion of the Subway Series in New York with the Mets and red-hot Mike Piazza hosting the Yankees. Bertie Williams, Derek Jeter and company. Last game before the All-Star break. Join John Miller and Joe Morgan at 8 p.m. Eastern. And for more coverage, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network. 21-game hitting streak. And the streak, the near record streak of 15 straight with an RBI, finally ended yesterday for Mike Piazza.
Didn't end by much, though. Had that double, just about went out of the ballpark.
Top of the order, Renteria. 1 for 2, a 2-run double, capping the first. Key series here. Key series for both the Yankees and the Mets. Then the All-Star break. And we'll see who starts to look toward 2001 and who decides to buckle it down and try and make it a race. Reds squarely in the middle of that question as this series begins. The Cardinals enjoying their best first half, their first 81 games at 48-33 in 13 years since their last World Series trip, 1987. Renteria works a walk.
Well, the only good thing for Cincinnati about Pokey Reese striking out in the top of the third inning, Jack McKeon had a pinch hitter, Hal Morris, out on deck. That would have been the end of the afternoon for Scott Williamson. But now, because of Pokey making the out, he gets to send Williamson back out to the mound, and that was their plan. If Valone was going to struggle today, they wanted to extend their young, normal relief pitcher, Scott Williamson. With his spot due to lead off in the top of the fourth, I would imagine if he's okay pitch-wise, I would imagine Jack McKeon will send him back out. You know, he walked his last at bat. It could have been worse.
Well, they wanted to get maybe 4 or 5 out of him and check the endurance factor, and then decide, does Valone stay in the rotation? Do we move Williamson in? Got to change something. Now, Harnish goes tomorrow after finally coming back off the DL. Really, among their starters, only Denny Nagel has been as anticipated at 72. Now, assuming Harnish gets back to where they expected him to be, if healthy, you still are counting on an awful lot of things going right the rest of your staff if you're Cincinnati and you're still trying to make this a race. The feeling coming into this one was Valone had had enough opportunities that this might be the last as a starter for a while. Taking second, Renteria on his 11th stolen base of the year.
And what almost would have been the 14th wild pitch of the year for Scott Williamson. Taubensee has always had trouble throwing, but he had absolutely no chance here. There he's off and running. It's a breaking ball down in the dirt. Valone trying to come up with it and make a throw. He's fortunate just to be able to keep it right there in front of him. Otherwise, Renteria would have kept going on to third base.
Scoring position with 1 out and 1-1 to Dunston. Hitting for the 3rd time already. Drives it deep to left. Tucker looks up and can't get it at the warning track off the wall. Griffey will make the throw back in. Digging for third. Dunston is safe. Renteria scores to make it 8-2 Cardinals.
Well, once he got into scoring position, for some reason, that just seems to do something special to Sean Dunston. Last year with runners in scoring position, he hit over 450. This year in that same situation, now his average right at 350. Likes to drive in runs, is not an everyday player anymore as he was early in his career, but he is productive with runners in those situations.
Sliding safely with his 2nd triple of the year. Looked as if the Reds had a good shot at getting him at third. And the relay started by Griffey, but Dunston just able to get there in the nick of time. And now Edmonds, yet to be retired, a 2-run homer in the first, walked and scored in the second.
Dunston's always had that ability. I mean, even on infield singles, when he sees the ball released, he could always turn it up a notch. Seemingly just beat those by a step because of that just extra burst of speed that he's always had.
1-1. Starting to see this number quite a bit. The Cardinals with some people who, when they put the ball in play, Walker strike out at over 500 hitters. Here's one, and the next guy is another one, Mark McGuire. Generally have a pretty good chance of seeing a home run, a walk, or a strikeout. Deep again to left. Again, Tucker looks up and says so long the second two-run homer of the day for Jim Edmonds.
He's become so comfortable hitting the ball to the opposite field here at Busch Stadium. He can see the flags blowing in that direction. He knows he's strong enough. If he just gets it into the air, it will carry. And once again, it does. Another souvenir for this crowd.
Now Big Mac trying to follow suit. Deep left field. Griffey with a leap. Makes the catch and then bangs off the wall. It's about as electrifying a moment as you can hope for in a 10-2 game. As on consecutive pitches, Edmonds slams his second two-run shot of the day, and McGuire almost follows suit.
Look at him sizing it up right here. He knows he may have to go well into the stands. He knows the wind's blowing in that direction. Junior did not know how far the ball would carry, but was prepared to go up and get it if it was possible, and it was.
Now strike one to Davis. Another game where Griffey just shakes his head and says, this is not what I expected when I came home. That mood just written all over his face in the clubhouse before the game. Davis a drive to center. Griffey has it. The Cardinals get 3 more in the third, and they extend their lead for Venice to 10-2. As we move into the fourth inning, this copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Don't forget, when you're surfing the World Wide Web, to stop by MajorLeagueBaseball.com, the most complete baseball coverage on the internet. So 10-2 for Andy Benes. Scott Williamson batting for himself, trailing by 8. Walked in his first at bat of the season, back in the second inning. 6 in the first, another in the second. And then they follow with 3 in the third on Renteria's walk, Dunstan's triple, and Edmonds' second two-run homer. Outside corner continues to be elusive for Venice and for the Reds pitchers with Ron Culpa. And that one was just outside. One pitch later, Williamson down on strikes.
But look at how quick Andy Benes is working. I mean, even though he missed with the pitch right before, it was a borderline call. He got right back on the mound, sends something else in the direction of home plate. The sooner I get it up there, the sooner I might get the hitter out, the sooner my offense can go back to work.
Michael Tucker spent a lot of his afternoon watching balls sail over him. Strikeout popped up to short his last trip.
It's going to be one of those games where usually during the 5th inning the ground crew comes out and they drag the infield again. They may have to drag the warning track rather than the infield.
It's more action.
Absolutely.
1-1. Bounce foul by Tucker.
Well, it's really been all Cincinnati's fault. The first guy got on base because of an error. Then the next 2 innings were started with base on balls. The guys that end up scoring the run. So in fact, the only 2 runs that Andy Benes gave up were after he retired Barry Larkin, the strikeout there in the top of the 3rd. He walked Griffey Jr., who eventually scored the first run of the afternoon for Cincinnati.
And it's trying to be as economical as possible on a hot day. starting the fourth inning with a strikeout of Williamson, and now Tucker works the count to 2-2. Pitch number 79 already for Bennis on the afternoon. Misses, and it's full. Russo obviously wants to get him through 5 minimum to get the win, and he has struck out Williamson and Tucker to begin the fourth.
Well, LaRussa knows that he's going to get 5 out of the big train, Andy Bennis. He has not gone less than 5 innings in any of his starts this year. In fact, what a workhorse he has been in the 90s. Since 1990, he's averaged 200 innings per year, 30 starts per year, and over 12 wins.
The question will become after the 5th, how long to leave him out there, assuming the lead doesn't change too much one way or the other. Larkin looks at the strike. 1 for 2 for Berry. Problem for Bennis last year was holding leads with Arizona. He struggled. He led in 9 of his 12 losses in the 13-12 season, and in innings in which he began the inning with the lead, his ERA was near 6. So that's something else he's improved greatly this year. Down the line and on the track, Dunston has it in a 1-2-3 inning for the first time for Andy Bennis as he sails through the 4th, ahead 10-2. Last year, Mark McGwire put on an unforgettable show for America at the Century 21 Home Run Derby, driving balls over the Green Monster at will. He'll be there again. Junior as well. He actually won the event last year. This year's Home Run Derby comes your way live from Turner Field in Atlanta next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be followed by the Celebrity Hitting Challenge at 10 p.m. ESPN, the home for your all-star events Sunday and Monday.
You know, ESPN has asked me to be a part of that, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to broadcast or if maybe the home run hitters have wanted me to throw some of that batting practice too.
Hey, this year I'd like to see you try and hit some. You'd probably hit 5 or 6.
No, there's a lot of those guys in that competition, though, that were real comfortable hitting off me throughout their career. In fact, even Griffey Sr. was talking about it. He had some success with that big red machine.
You may yet get a call this year, you know,
for
I mean, to join somebody's staff.
They're wasting their time.
You're left-handed. That call would have come months ago.
You know, I threw 3 innings in a celebrity game 2 weeks ago for Mark Harmon, and I haven't been able to comb my hair since. Those days are over. I would imagine that's going to be part of what Scott Williamson goes through tomorrow. He's going to be a lot stiffer and sore than he normally would be with them trying to stretch him out here this afternoon. He's just going to have to learn that as a starter, and he knows it, he did it at the minor league level, you can't go at 100% all of the time. Velocity and comfort zone for his fastball needs to be 89 to 91. His location will get better, and his base on ball total will go down.
Second baseman, Craig Paquette.
Obviously not what he wanted to do here in the 4th inning. Start Tatis with a walk. Alone only 2/3 of an inning, 5 hits, and all but one of the runs unearned. Now in 2 1/3, Williamson 3 hits, 4 runs all earned. He has walked 4. And he has struck out 3. And it's a leadoff walk here in the 4th. Now Paquette scored after an infield single in the 1st. He struck out his last time. Williamson, after finishing off the 1st, going the rest of the way, about to throw his 55th pitch. Valone threw an amazing 47 pitches and still not getting through the 1st inning.
I'm sure Ron Valone will be one of the guys that's available out of the bullpen the next couple of days just because of the strain that it put on the pen here this afternoon, him coming out, not getting out of the first inning. Somebody's going to have to throw some innings.
We look out at the Reds bullpen, and there was a moment where Hal Morris was out ready to pinch hit for him, but never got to bat because of the situation, and since then no action in that left field pen. Now 1-2 to Paquette.
I'm really surprised there's anybody even at all down in the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen. The big train, Andy Bennis, their starting pitcher. He's going to give you 5 innings. He's done it all year long. He's done it throughout his career. Stay in the clubhouse. Nice, cool. Might be against the rules, though.
They are in the shade. They'll keep it as cool as they can. Good toss to Tatis back. Texas Rangers made a calculated gamble by trading Fernando Tatis at the deadline in '98. They thought they could win another division. They thought they needed another bat, definitely another starter. They had very big questions at shortstop, so they sent Tatis and Darren Oliver to St. Louis. They got Todd Stoudemire, who indeed really was their ace for the rest of that '98 Western Division championship drive. And they got Royce Clayton, who is still their starting shortstop. But they knew the potential of Tatis. They did not, I don't think, expect it to come out as quickly as it has here in St. Louis. A 3,000 year last year, homers and RBIs, and before he got hit, on the pace for even more than that this year, before he got injured.
Turned 25 on New Year's Day, but that maturity kicked in last year, and then not only to the strike zone for Tatis, 36 base on balls the year before, 82 last year. He learned to stay off that high fastball, that being the one above the shoulders, that one belt high. Well, he put a pretty good swing on it and hit it a long ways.
Williamson's 2-2 back over the screen. What the Rangers saw from Tatis in the brief time he was up with them was a lot of strikeouts, a lot of errors at third, but flashes of power that really made you think, wait 3, 4, 5 years and see where this guy is. They didn't have to wait that long, and it wasn't in their uniform.
Isn't that the case with all of the young infielders? You know, I think Derek Jeter made 50 one of his years at the minor league level. Ozzie Smith made a lot, former great Cardinal shortstop.
Down the middle at the knees, and Paquette is down on strikes for the second straight time.
I know that was one thing that, as a minor league coach trying to evaluate talent at the rookie level, I could have told you the guys that were going to get to Double-A, but who was going to dominate at the big league level like Scott Williamson did? Oh, there's just no way. I would have had no idea. That's why those scouts, I think, are they're so valuable to organizations. Guys that can put that, you know, he's a franchise type player. Do not let him get away. One of those guys should have been for Texas, Fernando Tatis.
So they had Todd Zeile at third, and they thought they had him re-upped for this year, and he upped and left for New York, and so third base has been one of a number of question mark positions. Wouldn't be had that trade not gone, but again, you look back and any trade that helps you win a division, by definition, that's a good trade. I mean, over the next 10 years, you may have won more than that division, but it's hard to criticize what the Rangers got out of it at the time. They won another one last year with Z. But they're another team a little like Cincinnati now, thinking, well, are we so far out at 10 games back that perhaps it's time to start shopping a John Wetland. Guy who's been a backup catcher, almost forgotten, Bill Hasselman, who could play big innings for a lot of teams, but doesn't get to play much at all behind Pudge Rodriguez. Esteban Loaiza, with the interest in an arm like that, they still haven't figured out, is he a starter? Maybe is he a reliever? They've run him out of the bullpen a couple of times recently. Another team that didn't expect to be asking questions like that after 3 divisions the last 4 years. In Cincinnati, a game out last year, expected bigger and better things with Ken Griffey Jr. in tow, and they've gone the other way instead. Not much to his liking today either. Cardinals on their way to their 16th win in the last 21 games. They've picked up 8.5 games on the Reds in the standings over the last month. Matheny dribbles that one foul, 2-2.
Boy, that stretch during the month of June where Cincinnati lost 11 out of 12 ball games. Their pitching staff giving up an average of 7 runs per game. I mean, there's just not many offenses that can cover that. Those are Coors Field type numbers.
Don Gullett has again today had to see the Reds go into the bullpen earlier than you'd ever like. Much earlier today. The first inning, Williamson was already out there. 3-2 to Matheny. He continues to throw a lot of pitches in his third full inning. Walked Tatis at 3-1, struck out Paquette at 2-2, and now full up on Matheny. And maybe now ready to get some action stirring in the bullpen. Well hit and fair into the corner in left field as Tatis takes a look and decides to jog on into third on the double by Matheny, who was 2 for 3. Andy Larkin is the Reds reliever who gets loose.
Matheny worked the count to where it was full. He knew he was going to get a good pitch to hit. One out. Williamson had already thrown a lot of pitches once again this inning. He gets the fastball, and that's a fastball swing. That's one of those batting practice swings where you know what's coming. Makes good contact with it, and once again St. Louis with runners in scoring position.
Second and third with 1 out for Bennis, who bats for the 3rd time. He has walked and struck out today.
Almost seems like Scott Williamson is trying to strike the hitter out from the very first pitch, and that's just not possible to do. You've got to get 2 strikes first. The first fastball to Bennis on the outside corner, painted. His stuff's good enough with most of the hitters. On that first pitch, give yourself some room to work with. I mean, if you throw it right down the middle and you throw it at 94, you're going to be all right on that first pitch most of the time. Then you start trying to locate it. Then you go to the breaking ball.
See what he does here, even at 1-1 on Bennis. Higher in the zone, and Bennis can't catch up to it. 1-2.
And you're right. I'm still bitter about the fact that he cost us the championship back in '97 in that Pioneer League.
You just got to let that go. Let it go.
It's just hard to do. There could be a Pioneer League championship ring right here on my finger if it weren't for this guy. Why didn't he pitch like this back in that ball game? That's the way he pitched right there.
5th strikeout.
Well, the reason I feel this guy can be a quality major league starter is because he's got the 3 pitches. The fastball he can locate, the slider he can throw, which moves away from the right-handed hitter, and an outstanding split-finger fastball that'll move away from the left-handed hitter. You got to have 3 pitches to get deep into the ball game. You got 2, they're going to make a reliever out of you. Second, third time around, they've seen everything you've got. If your location's not perfect, which most of the time most pitchers aren't, well, you're going to be in trouble. But when you've got that 3rd pitch to go to, you can start.
So 2 on and 2 outs, and Renteria going after the first pitch the other way to Bichette. And at last, a scoreless inning put up by Reds pitchers, trailing 10-2.
1-800-COLLECT presents Ava Save-A-Lot.
Stop! Don't move a muscle.
What?
You didn't dial 1-800-COLLECT, did you?
What's the difference?
Exercise your brain. 1-800-COLLECT saves the people you call at least $1 or $2, so their phone bills aren't so heavy.
Huh. Powerful argument. What's the number again?
1-800-COLLECT, as in collect calls. Easy, right?
Thanks.
Here, I'll get that.
1-800-COLLECT. Save $1 or $2.
Top of the 5th inning, Cardinals 10-2. Log on to ESPN.com and go to the MLB page to cast your vote for who you think will surpass Henry Aaron's all-time home run record. With 2 of the prime candidates here in St. Louis today, you can vote for Mark McGwire, Ken Griffey, both, or somebody else. And stay with us as we check in on the voting later in the game. Well, McGwire is 36. Griffey's 30. But beginning play today, Big Mac, 7th all-time, 552 home runs. Griffey, 27th all-time, 424. Again, only age 30. He plays another 10, even if McGwire has already broken it by then. The question becomes how long before Griffey catches. Fun to think about anyway.
Well, he was breaking great players' home run records even in high school. Being Griffey Jr. went to Moeller High School there in Cincinnati, where also his teammate Barry Larkin went. There's Mark McGwire at 552. I don't think any of us will be surprised someday to see Ken Griffey Jr.'s name up there among those guys.
You saw next for McGwire, Reggie Jackson. He's 11 behind Reggie, but in about 4,000 fewer at bats, McGwire is that close to it. Record pace this year, 1 in just over every 7 at bats, 7.1. The record was 7.27 at bats per 100 2 years ago.
Even Big Mac's amazed. He thinks about last year on the all-time home run list when he passed Lou Gehrig, Willie Stargell, Dave Winfield, and the all-time Cardinal great Stan Musial.
That one driven and just fouled by Griffey over the mid of McGwire.
How ironic would that have been if McGwire would have taken an extra base hit away from Griffey Jr. when it was just earlier in the ball game where Griffey Jr. took one off the wall against Big Mac. Big Mac flying out the center, bottom of the 3rd inning.
Down on strikes. 7 strikeout by Bennett.
Not really a day that you want a lot of strikeouts. To get a strikeout, you got to throw at least 3 pitches. A lot of pitches in that at bat for Griffey Jr. You'd much rather have a nice little sinking fastball and just let 4 or 5 guys in the inning hit that pitch on the ground. But that's not Bennett's forte. He's a power type, 4-seam, straight fastball pitcher. He'll take advantage of his outfield a lot more often than he does his infield.
Certainly the sentiment here in St. Louis. Mark McGwire the man. Dante Bichette 1-1. Strikeout by Griffey, his 67th of the year. He has also walked today, his 70th walk. So RBIs impressive. Walks way higher than they'd like. Strikeouts as well. In the air and deep to left. Dunston in front of the wall. Close as you can get for Bichette without knocking one out of here.
I think Dante right about now might be missing Coors Field. Where's that ball at in Colorado?
20 rows, 25 rows deep.
He's jogging, and not jogging back to the dugout. He's jogging around the bases.
Last 5 years, most of that compiled at Coors Field. Nobody has more base hits in Major League Ball than Dante Bichette. Well over a 200 hit per season pace. So 2 outs, nobody on for Boone.
Also in those last 5 years, he's averaged 128 RBIs. The biggest reason Cincinnati picked him up, though, was his success against them. 379 as a career hitter against the Reds. They remember that stuff.
1 for 3 today for Dante. A lot of appeals, and Randy Marsh staying busy down there and denying most of them. That one included, all 3.
It looks like the end of the day for Scott Williamson might be here. Activity up in the pen.
Shot to center to base hit. Reds have gone in order only in the 4th today. Aaron Boone has his first hit.
They said that if Ron Vallone, today's starting pitcher for the Reds, had trouble, they wanted to extend Scott Williamson. Well, it was only for 3 1/3 innings, but 71 pitches is a pretty good extension.
And as Sean Casey steps in 2 for 2 with a pair of singles, Andy Larkin does continue to warm in the Cincinnati bullpen. So we'll expect to see him next time out. First ball, 15 rows deep for Casey. Encouraging June for Sean. He had 307. But compare him to where he was at this time a year ago, there really is no comparison. He was a 375 hitter compared to the 247 he began this day hitting. Expect some drop off from the incredible first half he had last year, but not as much as this. After the break, dropped 90 points, 6 homers, still managed 42 RBIs. In the first half this year, only 4 home runs, 20 RBIs. So you stretch it back 550, 560 ABs or so. Roughly a full season. He's driven in only 70 runs.
Well, you can't discount too the fact, he had that broken right thumb in spring training. The hitter counts on his hands so much to be able to react to pitches. Power numbers are going to be down because of that right thumb and the problem that he had there. But the average starting to come around, Dave, as you said, here in the month of June, and I would imagine right behind that the power will come as well.
Jack McKeon describes him the guy that could fall out of bed and hit. He's just going to get numbers. And he did start on the DL until April 20th this year, the broken right thumb.
Well, Casey's so honest about it, too. He says, hey, I'm just a normal guy that was blessed to hit a baseball. There's nothing different than me than anybody else on earth other than that.
Very likable, very popular in Cincinnati. Native of Willingboro, New Jersey, quickly adopting to that hometown. That one almost hits him. It's 3-2. First 2 went fairly quietly. A strikeout to Griffey, a fly ball to left by Bichette. It did send Dunston deep. Then the single by Boone, and now working on Casey. Through 61 games a year ago, you see the drop off. Some 122 points in the average. Dunston coming in and now finds the range on that one. Casey retired for the first time. Through 4.5, 10-2 St. Louis. We'll see Big Mac coming up. Last year, Rick Ankiel was the starting pitcher for Team USA in the inaugural MLB Future Stars game. He is fulfilling his promise this year at the big league level here in St. Louis in a big way. Roster's made up of guys who will impact Major League Baseball in the years to come. You'll see the Reds' future shortstop or second baseman Travis Gookie Dawkins. Maybe the next big unit, already nicknamed the Little Unit, Ryan Anderson from the Mariners system. Future Stars game live this year, 3 p.m. Sunday, right here on ESPN2.
Boy, if you're addicted to baseball like I am, that is a terrific game to watch because just like you said, Dave, the guys that you see in that game at that time are going to be stars at the big league level and sometime soon.
In Rick Ankiel's case, real soon. It's wowed people around baseball this year at 20. New pitcher for the Reds, third of the afternoon, Andy Larkin. And he has Dunston, Edmonds, and McGuire to greet him in the Cardinal half of the 5th inning. His second appearance, promoted from Louisville Sunday with Matty Ibar on the DL. And he went 2 scoreless innings at Arizona. Double switch. Chris Steins replaces Aaron Boone at third. He will bat in the pitcher's spot.
I was sitting there talking with Griffey Sr. before the game. I had a nice conversation, so I need to go find Dunn Gullett. I don't know much about Andy Larkin. It goes where you're talking to the guy. Griffey Jr. actually, when he was in winter ball managing in the offseason, saw Andy Larkin down there, passed that report on, and that's why he was signed to a minor league contract.
Winston right away testing Steins, and he gets him. He had a hard time coming up with that, and the throw had to be scooped by Casey, but Steins does record the out. So now Jim Edmonds, full day's work already in the first inning. Dunston aboard after a Casey error. 2-run homer into the Reds bullpen. Third inning, another 2-run home run. Also to left field. In between, he walked and scored. 2 for 2, 3 runs and 4 runs batted in today for Edmonds. The average up to 344. The RBI is up to 56. Homers now 24 in count.
He'll take a little bit of a stride when he wants to try to pull the baseball, but when he goes to the opposite field, as he did for the 2 homers this afternoon, he gets that stance as wide as he can, real quiet with that front side, and just uses his upper body strength.
I can bring a good fastball there, 92, but high. Edmonds the show today. McGuire on deck. Quiet by comparison. 1 for 3 with a double. That one ripped again, but right in his tracks is Bichette. Hit hard, but the first time today they retired Jim Edmonds. And even that draws a hand.
McGuire. Take a look at the home run swing from the first at bat. You look at how quiet that foot is right there, which means this eyesight right here does not do a whole lot. See, it's down right there. He just spins on it. Your eyesight doesn't move. That means the baseball doesn't move, with the exception of the movement the pitcher puts on it, and much, much easier to make contact. Edmonds has figured out that that home run he hits 350 counts just as much as the one McGuire hits 450. Just not as impressive or fun to watch.
Most of the rest of baseball has to resign itself to the fact that there's really only one guy that can do it with the distance as much a factor as McGuire, but there are a lot of guys close to him in quantity. Loops that one over Barry Larkin for a second base hit. So we got a rather quiet contribution from Big Mac today.
Right fielder,
softly, he's a guy 6'5", 250 with his muscles can hit the ball.
Take a look at the swing right here. Look at the eyes focused. The movement of the fastball of Andy Larkin, just not exactly what Big Mac was expecting. That ball ran in on him. He could not get the head of the bat to it. And you know what? Right now, the situation where I would imagine Tony La Russa would like to take Big Mac out of the game. But because of the fact it's here in St. Louis, in front of these fans, it means so much to Big Mac, he stays in the ballgame.
And he's forced at second on the grounder by Davis. Only the McGuire single in the 5th, as the Cardinals still lead it 10-2. Good day to wear your Cardinal colors, wave the flag, and enjoy a rout, which is what has been so far. 10-2 as we move to the 6th inning. Andy Bennis allowing only 6 hits so far. Enjoying terrific run support, which has not always been the case for him this year. Bottom third of the order, Taubensee, Reese, and Chris Steins. Taubensee 1 for 2 with a strikeout. And Bennis has 3 losses this year. He was supported with only a total of 3 runs. He would love to spread some of this great fortune around in those games. 6 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, over the 100-pitch mark. In the losses, he was shut out in 1, gave up 1, or was supported by 1 in 1 game, and supported by only 2 Carlo runs in the other. So enjoying the onslaught today as he tries to win his 9th of the year. Deep drive, left center, in front of the track is Dunston.
Take a look at the day for Andy Bennis, and the reason for success with the punch-outs. Takes a little bit off the slider, painting both sides of the plate with that fastball. When he misses with the off-speed pitch, it's down. But look at the location on his fastball. The catcher's there. The baseball simply follows.
Back out of play by Reese. The only inning the Reds got to him. They got both their runs in the third. And 3 of their 6 hits. First pitch strikes a big key. Getting ahead. Dave Duncan and all pitching coaches continually preach that.
You talk to him about what the best pitch in baseball is. A lot of youngsters will say the fastball, the slider, the forkball, circle change. Doesn't matter what it is. A pitching coach will tell you it's a first pitch strike.
The great pitching coach saying Babe Ruth is dead. Throw strikes.
I remember the first time I saw that T-shirt. It was here in St. Louis. Joe McGrain, big left-handed starter for the Cardinals, wearing that thing around. You know, whatever it takes for you to realize that you need to throw strikes.
Ellis does here. Gets the outside corner. There is number 8. He's gotten Pokey Reese twice.
Well, it looks like the June swoon that Pokey Reese was in is going to continue through the month of July. He's chasing the breaking balls down and out of the strike zone and then taking the fastballs that are in the zone.
Third baseman Chris Stein.
That's just confidence right there when you've got a hitter doing that. You can have all the early batting practice you want. You can do all the things you want with his stance, but when they take pitches like that, it's just a lack of confidence.
Duncan monitoring the pitch count of Bennis. So we got a stirring in the Cardinal bullpen. Started Steins with a fastball strike. Now quickly ahead of him 0-2 with 2 outs here in the 6th.
And that's the whole key, Dave, is what you said there. Quickly. He has kept his defense off the field and kept the pressure on Cincinnati's defense. They're the ones that have been out there in this heat all day.
Mark Thompson getting loose. As Steins lays off the breaking ball. He came in defensively for Aaron Boone in the last half inning. In a double switch, and Larkin, the pitcher, should he bat, would bat in Boone's 5th position. Now 2-2.
I'm really impressed with the sequence that Mike Matheny's going through there. There's Steins laid off the breaking ball, which means he's staying back, so he's going to be late on the fastball in.
Right field for Eric Davis. In the second 1-2-3 inning for Bennis. Through 5.5. 10-2. Record attendance pace in Busch Stadium this year. They're not hurting themselves today with a standing room only crowd. On pace again for well over 3 million. They set the mark last year, 3.2 million. Juan Castro replacing Barry Larkin, shortstop for Cincinnati in the bottom of the 6th inning. Andy Larkin second inning in relief, and it begins with Tatis. Then Paquette and Mike Matheny. 1 ball and 1 strike to Fernando. Singled and scored in the first and walked each of his next 2 trips. Larkin a couple of times has shown he's not afraid to come inside.
They call that effectively wild. Get it to the first hitter that he faced, Sean Dunston. He get a ground ball out.
Off speed the other way this time, and again Randy Marsh says no. So it's 3-1. Cardinals were last in the postseason 4 years ago. Another walk for Tatis. Let's check in quickly with John Bucci-Gross.
All right, let's go down to Florida and check out the Mets and Marlins. And the first 2 runners on for Edgar. Alfonso goes off the wall. Brad Penny pitching for Florida. Lenny Harris scores. Alfonso thrown out at second. 1-0 New York.
So Well, the Mets, after that much anticipated but quieter than expected series with Atlanta, they'll move it on to Florida. Paquette way out in front. Cardinals began today 48-33, a half game behind the Braves for best record in the National League. And the Mets just 2 back for best record in the Eastern Division. In the current divisional format, 95 season, first in the 6 division format, played to the conclusion of the season. 22 of the 27 teams in sole possession of first through July 4th have ended up winning their divisions. Welcome news certainly for the Cardinals as Paquette drives that one fair to the left field corner. Over for it is Tucker, and Tatis will stop at third. A 2-for-4 afternoon for Paquette with a single and now a double in the 6th inning.
Opening day here for the St. Louis Cardinals. ESPN was here, had the opportunity to do the game. There was a 3-run homer hit in the bottom of the 1st inning against the Chicago Cubs by the first baseman for the Cardinals. No big surprise, right? Wrong. The first baseman was Craig Paquette. Big Mac was not able to go, had some back spasms right before the game started. Paquette inserted right at the very last minute. The very first inning, his first at bat, a 3-run homer, and a big win for the Cardinals. Paquette, one of those guys, very versatile. Not a lot of hits, but a lot of big hits.
Seems like anybody La Russa has turned to this year has come through for him.
Well, most of the guys that he turns to are guys that he's had a past with. He had Paquette when he was in Oakland. He had Andy Bennis back here. He knew what he was getting when he got him back. Also had, what's that guy's name, McGuire? He had him a little bit.
Played a little bit in Oakland with him, as I recall.
A little bit of success there. Actually, a whole lot.
2-1 now to Matheny. Andy Bennis will indeed call it an afternoon, and J.D. Drew has moved out in the on-deck circle. Drew not getting the start today against the left-handed Ron Vallone, and Dunston instead starting at left. Base hit. Matheny drives in Tatis, and it's 11-2. Paquette staying at third. Third RBI. Third hit for Matheny. 2 singles, a double, and up to 23 driven in for the year.
And just really a smart piece of hitting there on the part of Mike Matheny. We've saw him call a smart game behind home plate, but now you got second and third, nobody out. Even if he makes an out going the opposite way, you hit a ground ball to second, you're going to drive in the run, and you're going to move the runner from second to third with less than 2 outs. An opportunity for him to pick up an easy RBI as well.
So J.D. Drew now hitting for Bennis. First and third, still nobody out against Andy Larkin in the 6th inning. 6th pinch hit appearance for Drew. 2 for 5, 3 Ks in his first 5. Up and down the Cardinal lineup, everybody contributing. Number 7 hitter Paquette 2 for 4. Number 8 hitter Matheny 244 when the day began. 3 for 4. 3 RBIs.
I tell you what, this kid right here is everything they said that he was going to be. He was drafted number 1 by the Phillies. Had some contract problems. Thing didn't work out there. He was put under a microscope. He had to play that year with the Independent League. But you watch this kid take BP, you watch him in the outfield. He is a special baseball player.
And he works Larkin for a 4-pitch walk to load the bases. Good 2-word phrase about J.D. Drew that you hear very seldom in baseball. 5-tool player. You have seen One time or the other, all 5 of the tools here in St. Louis. And McKeon hoping that Larkin can work through this. Nobody warming up in his bullpen. Top of the order now, Edgar Renteria. 2-run double, a walk, a stolen base, and a run scored so far in his 4th of July. Larkin in his first inning in relief allowed only a looping single by McGuire. Retired Edmonds, retired Davis. That Dunston on a ground ball that has struggled here in the 6th inning. Yet to retire anybody, and with the bases loaded, we'll have a conversation with Hawkinsey down 2-0. Certainly on the numbers, you can make that case very strongly. Edmonds should be an all-star starter. It is Griffey, however, who leads all the outfielders and is 3rd among all National League vote getters, in fact, behind Piazza and McGuire, with the National League and American League starters announced today. Edmonds finishes 5th in the balloting at about 1.3 million votes, 800,000 or so behind Griffey. Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa, the other National League starters, as voted in by the fans. Bases loaded walk for Renteria to make it 12-2. Tatis comes home.
You know, I can't help but think when I look at the mound here in St. Louis that it's the reason that there are so many runs being given up in baseball today. Back in 1968, off that mound, it was Bob Gibson who had an ERA of 1.12. Denny McLain won 30-some games. Pitching was just dominating baseball at that time, and they decided a change was needed. So they lowered the mound. They took away the downward plane that the pitchers had, that advantage that they thought was the reason. Well, the hitters have caught up with the pitchers now. And for me, it's that mound right there that needs to be raised again. I look at this game today. I think about yesterday. The Atlanta Braves losing 17-1. Now, I mean, we've got our offense. There's plenty of it there. There's probably a little too much. And the one change that you can make, give that height back on the mound, and you will see that offense go down.
Can't tell the hitters not to lift weights. Parts are being built the way they're being built. There's not much you can do about the dimensions. But it can't hurt. At least try it for a year or so and see if it brings some of the stratospheric offense back to merely impressive levels. Really past the level of overkill in a lot of these games. Good hitter in this situation throughout his long career. Sean Dunston with him loaded up. Took a good cut at that one and was behind 0-2. Third base, Matheny after an RBI single. Drew after a walk is at second, and Renteria bases loaded RBI walk. His 3rd driven in on the day to get him 37 for the year. Nobody out, and the 0-2 to Dunston back over the screen. If they do make that rule change, I'm with you. I sure hope they do. They should have a ceremony and raise that mound first. And have Bob Gibson there to lift the ceremonial shovel.
It's all Bob Gibson's fault. He hadn't pitched so well that year, they might not have done it. But even Bob Gibson says he's still mad about the fact that they made that change. They shouldn't have done it then, he didn't think. What's wrong with the pitcher's duel?
'68, a year in which only one American leaguer hit 300. Hard to imagine that time ever existed. He's currently playing. Dunston down on strikes, the first out in the Cardinals 6th inning with this hand for the Cardinal fans' favorite here on the 4th of July, Jim Edmonds.
Well, the guy on deck has the most homers of any active player on the 4th of July. Big Mac has hit 5. Well, already this afternoon, Edmonds has 2.
Oh, he might tie it by the end of the afternoon the way he's gone. He was all over that one.
Even he looks to the on-deck circle at Big Mac as if to say, how did I miss that pitch? Who holds the all-time record for homers on July 4th? That would be Duke Snyder. Dodger with 9.
Record should be safe for a while. But then again, Edmonds isn't done yet today. All in a strike. Edmonds with his 10th career multi-homer game, his second as a Cardinal. He and McGuire homered in the same game this year already 8 times. Good pitch by Larkin there, 1-2. Big Mac 2 for 4, a single and a double, 1 RBI. The only Cardinal, except for Bennis and Drew, so far not to score a run. And Edmonds waves at that one and is retired on strikes for the second out. Really hard to tell how much of this ovation is for him and the day he's had and how much for the man stepping into the box now, McGuire. No doubt a little of both. McGuire in the 4-game split at Synergy Field last week struggled, 1 for 15. Different start to this 3-game series. You know, of all the records and all the paces and everything else that surrounds Mark McGuire statistically, this may be the most impressive. He already holds the career record for home runs here in Busch Stadium. 105. He broke it in his 215th game in this park last Friday. This, till he got here, was never considered a home run park. This is where Gibson rolled up his records and where Whitey Herzog played for the doubles and the triples to the deep gap. And
it's still not one of the better hitters parks in baseball. That's the amazing thing about what he does here. Put him in Coors Field or Wrigley Field or Enron Field for 1 year and see what happens.
Liked what he saw there, but back out of play, 2-1.
That's amazing.
With 70 in this park, and then you're talking 90. You're talking a really ridiculous figure in a park like that.
But he just got here in July of 1997 and already holds the record here.
Ray Langford was the old record holder with 103 in his 11th season playing at this park. 3rd full season for McGuire. And the record by Langford, history. Ray sitting it out today.
This ball may go a long, long ways. 3-1 count, bases loaded, no place to put him.
Almost hit it. Larkin with his second bases loaded walk of the inning. As Matheny comes home with the 3rd run of the inning, 13th of the day.
Right fielder, Eric.
And for McGuire, his 2nd run batted in. Eric Davis. 0 for 3. Only the pitcher spot has yet to produce a hit other than the 5-hole that Eric Davis has today. Did walk and score in the 1st inning. And he is the 9th Cardinal to hit here in the 6th inning.
You know, he's 0 for 3 today, but he might be the difference in this game right now. With the score just 6-0 in the top of the 3rd inning, 2 men on. Aaron Boone hit that line drive that he was able to come in, make a diving catch. It ended up being an RBI sacrifice fly, but Cincinnati at that point trying to get back into the ball game.
One of those career grand slams earlier this year against the Reds by Davis. A nice diving stop, and Pokey Reese finally ends the inning, robbing Eric Davis. Cardinals get 3 more, though, through 6th on the 4th of July. 13. Stadium in St. Louis, and ending the latest big inning by the Cardinals, a terrific defensive play at second base by Gold Glove winner Pokey Reese.
You wonder why they say he's got more range than any second baseman in baseball. Look at that right there. That inning had already seen 4 base on balls, all kinds of problems, every reason in the world for an infielder just to be sitting back on his heels. And yet Pokey Reese, with an all-out effort, takes a hit and at least 2 RBIs away from Eric Davis. You got to like that effort. I mean, that's the type of a player right there that just doesn't know the score. It's supposed to be a 3-4 hour day. Even though it's a long year, it's a short day. It should be easy to come out and play hard. Pokey Reese, one of those guys that does.
Andy Bennis is done after 6 innings. Mark Thompson replaces Bennis, who went 6, giving up only 2 runs on 6 hits. And the numbers for Thompson, 1-1 and a 3.12 ERA. Tucker, very deep center field. Edmonds watches this one sail just over the wall, and Michael Tucker greets Thompson with his 10th home run of the year. And it is 13-3 Cardinals.
Jim Edmonds with a couple of home runs on the year. You had to figure that that was going to happen with both of these offenses here this afternoon. We've just been wondering, where has the home run ball been for Cincinnati? Well, the first one comes off the bat of Michael Tucker.
We watched Edmonds' shots both sail over his head, so he makes Edmonds stand there and do the watching. J.D. Drew stays in the game in right field after batting for Bennis. Juan Castro's first at bat after replacing Larkin defensively in the 6th inning, and he lines to Drew the first out here in the 7th. (13-3) game. Ken Griffey Jr. A couple of nice defensive moments at the plate. Fly to center, walked and scored the first Cincinnati run in the 3rd, and he struck out his last time up. One of 8 strikeouts rung up by Bennis, who walked 2, allowed 6 hits in his 6 innings. A lot of balls have been flying out, but not by Griffey nor McGuire today. That's it right on the nose and right in front of the track. Edmonds brings it in. Out number 2, we check in with John Bucci-Gross.
Bobby Higginson lost his talent for a couple of years, but he has certainly found it again. That's a 3-run homer in the first. Look how deep this one goes. Higginson way out of town. His 17th, 4-0 Tigers.
Good nomination for the streakiest hitter in baseball this year. And the hottest hitter over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Dante Bichette has been pretty hot himself. A .375 month of June. And his average is up almost 50 points since his streak began. You're hot that long, I'm not sure if it's a streak as much as just finally settling into your groove. Thompson quickly ahead of Bichette. 0-2. Single run scored in the 3rd for Dante.
There'll be a lot of things going through that man's mind right now. He came over to Cincinnati for a lot less money than what he could have asked for. Gave them some money left in the kitty to go out and pick up some pitching to make a contender and get them over the hump. And yet nothing was done. I don't think things in Cincinnati have worked out for Griffey Jr. exactly like he had hoped, or maybe like he had been told.
And then you look over at the team he left, and not very many people expected Seattle minus Griffey to be a first place team, but that's right where they are. 2.5 games up in the American League West, playing .600 ball without June.
Well, the biggest thing that happened there was John Olerud wanting to come back home. He solidified that defense. fit right into the picture of their philosophy now. Pitching, defense, timely hitting. His on-base percentage, incredible. In fact, last year, the only guy in the National League on base more than John Olerud was Jeff Bagwell of the Houston Astros. 3 former batting title winners, A-Rod, Olerud. Edgar won 2 batting titles, so they had plenty of offense.
Edgar may win himself another one this year. And the way they're going now, there should not be any questions anymore asked in Seattle about do we sign A-Rod. It's just a matter of how long and how much it takes to get it done.
Well, it's a big matter of how much.
They build the stadium so they can keep people like Griffey and A-Rod. One's already gone.
Well, you know, the mistake I think they made was that they built that stadium for pitching. That's maybe the best pitcher's park in the game today. And you've got 2 guys that may go for all of these home run titles. I think I might have thought about those dimensions a little bit more than what they did when I put them back as far as I did.
Probably heard the same anecdote I have with Griffey after his first at bat at Safeco Field. Roll ball would have been well out of the King Dome, and it's a warning track out. And kind of made up his mind right then and there, testing the new layout. But that's not where he would chase Babe Ruth. And the process began that eventually brought him back home to Cincinnati. Bichette really working Thompson. Foul ball after foul ball with 2 outs here in the 7th. Fifth hole next. Now the pitcher's hole after the double switch. And sure enough, out there swinging the bat is Andy Larkin, ready to try and go at least another inning. Finally, Bichette down on strikes, and Larkin will have to wait. Reds get the solo homer by Michael Tucker, and then Thompson shuts him down, and it's 13-3. It's stretch time in St. Louis. Very important on a day like today. Come prepared. That gentleman has. We're just getting started with 4th of July baseball here on the ESPN family of networks. Still to come here on ESPN2, 7 p.m. The Braves host the Expos, and then at 10 p.m. the first place Seattle Mariners visiting the Anaheim Angels. 7 Pacific. Some will see the Rockies and the Giants. Lots of defensive changes. Alex Ochoa is the new left fielder for Cincinnati as Thomas Howard pinch hits for Fernando Tatis. Michael Tucker moves from left to center and replaces Ken Griffey Jr. done for the day. The new right fielder is Hal Morris, who replaces Dante Bichette. Griffey and Bichette, the last 2 outs in the 7th inning, ending their holiday afternoons early. Howard, Paquette, Matheny against Larkin here in the 7th inning. Thomas Howard just 77 at bats. A 182 average, but look how productive he is. 5 homers and 18 RBIs. Leads the club in the pinch. 7 pinch hits, 9 driven in. Two and 1 from Larkin, who came in the 5th inning after Scott Williamson went 3 1/3, allowed 4 runs. He came on in the 1st for Ron Vallone, who in 47 pitches couldn't end the inning. 6 St. Louis runs on 5 hits and 2 walks and a costly error. Center field, Tucker handles that one for the first out. Well, today is the day that we find out the all-star starters. And in the National League, to no one's surprise, it is Mike Piazza who leads all National League vote getters, 2.7 million. McGuire at first, 2.3 million votes. Jeff Kent, a very deserving selection at second base, surpassing Craig Biggio. Chipper Jones gets the third base vote, defending NL MVP. Barry Larkin of the Reds by a wide margin at shortstop over Ray Ordonez. And in the outfield, another Red, Griffey, Bonds, and Sosa. Vladimir Guerrero just misses by about 200,000 votes behind Sosa.
He's still going to be there. He will not be left off of Bobby Cox's roster. How about the second base position? What are they going to do there? So many guys deserving. No question, Jeff Kent belongs back in just his second All-Star appearance. Alfonso, Jay Bell. How about Jose Vidro? A couple of home runs yesterday in that Montreal win over Atlanta. You know that Bobby Cox got a good look at that.
Well, as I look over these vote totals, that's the most glaring mistake that the fans made. Jose Vidro, of course, plays before very few people and not very well known at all, but 7th in the second base ballot.
Well, you got to have somebody come out to the ballpark to vote for you. I know there's other ways to do it, but no more than Montreal draws. The crowd that we have here today, I mean, that's a good homestand for Montreal.
Have to stretch over 2 weeks.
Good long homestand.
46,022, the sold-out house at Busch today. So McGuire makes it as a starter. Tatis not bad at all for the time he's been injured. He finishes 3rd among the third basemen. Renteria 3rd among shortstops. Edmonds 5th in the outfield balloting. I'm going to think of some Cardinal pitchers too. Darryl Kyle leaps to mind as a deserving National League All-Star. Big cut and a miss, and Paquette is retired, out number 2 here in the 7th. The American League All-Star starters. Pudge Rodriguez leads all vote getters at 2.8 million. Jason Giambi of Oakland deserves it at first. Alomar at 2nd. Cal Ripken Jr. maybe for the last time, who knows, at 3rd, and then A-Rod at short. And in the outfield, Bernie Williams, Manny Ramirez, names you expect. Jermaine Dye hangs in there. He had a great start in the voting, and he finishes 2nd among the outfielders. Nearly 1.5 million votes. Carl Everett doesn't make it, but should have. He finishes 4th. Darren Erstad 7th. Certainly should be higher.
You know, a round of applause for the Kansas City Royals baseball fans and getting their player Jermaine Dye to that All-Star game via the starting lineup. What a great year he's had. Offensively, defensively, one of the strongest throwing arms in the game. And for that small market city to be able to come up with that many votes, just an outstanding job for them.
American League version of the second base quandary for the National League's got to be at first, where a guy like Carlos Delgado finishes 5th. Frank Thomas returns to form. He finishes 4th. Giambi, Tomey of the Indians, Tino Martinez of the Yankees, 1, 2, 3.
First time ever for Jason Giambi to an All-Star game.
Called strike 3, a 1-2-3, 7th inning for Larkin and the Reds. 13-3 it remains. Buffalo, Akron, Trenton, Arkansas. 4 teams, 3 organizations in one year. Began with the Indians and then moved on briefly to the Red Sox organization. And finally came over in August with catcher David Benham for Kent Merkur. Make him a Cardinal, former 2nd-round pick by the Indians in '92. Couldn't have missed by much. Ron Culpa said it was inside, 1 and 2. Reds have spent only 9 days in first place in what was supposed to be the best record in baseball, or the best race in baseball, as Larkins retired on strikes. 76 days in second place, and they will fall to 9 games behind St. Louis. Well, our question, who will break Henry Aaron's all-time home run record on ESPN.com? And most people say both McGuire and Griffey will surpass Aaron's 755. Most favoring Griffey over Mack, but 36% say they'll both get there.
I totally agree with the majority there.
How long do you think Mack holds it? I guess that's purely a function of how long he plays. And he's already said if there's any kind of work stoppage whatsoever, that's it. I end my career. I would be embarrassed to be a major league ball player if we stop play any longer for more money. He is well on record for saying that.
And you know what? You have to applaud Big Mac for that. I mean, I don't even deserve to be mentioned in the same paragraph with Big Mac, but that's what happened to me in '94 and a lot of other people. With 15 wins. For Cincinnati, they've got 3 wins.
Casey unassisted to get Drew.
The exciting part for Cincinnati, though, is the fact that one of those wins is by Pete Harnisch, tomorrow night's starting pitcher. And they say that it was really him that won the first game in Arizona that got that ball club going. They went on to win 3 out of 4 against the Diamondbacks, but it was his pitching performance, they said, that was the key.
Pinch hitting for Renteria, Keith McDonald, his first major league at bat, just called up with Eli Marrero out 6 weeks with a torn ligament in his thumb. And McDonald, a 27-year-old rookie, says, to be honest, I never thought I'd play in the majors. I'm shocked. This was the furthest thing from my mind. This is pure euphoria. And here he is with his first major league at bat in a bid to go the other way, and he's behind 0-2. He was hitting just .243 at Memphis, no doubt heightening the element of surprise, but then that's why you got the minor leaguers. When the frontliners go down, you have to be able to dip in and find a Keith McDonald.
That's why people buy insurance for their house.
Last year at Arkansas AA, Memphis, and AAA, a 300 hit. And he missed a month and a half with back problems himself. Former 24th round pick out of Pepperdine. He's a face painter. When the Rams are on TV, he wears his Ram gear and he paints the blue and gold all over his face. He'd be a Seinfeld character. Holds off on that one, 2-2. So for the time being, at least, it's Matheny and McDonald. That's your Cardinal catching picture until they can bring Marrero back.
It's always great to see a guy get the opportunity, come up and play at the big league level.
Make a little major league dough while you're at
it. Get out of here.
Deep left. Ochoa back, watching it sail out of here. A home run in his first major league at bat for Keith McDonald. And if he was shocked to be called up and actually play in the major leagues, what must he be feeling at this moment? A homer in his first at bat. And he'll get the souvenir.
And you know, that was really a touch of class there by the Cincinnati Reds outfielders and bullpen. They got the ball back from the fan right away. The people in the bullpen, the pitchers came down and gave the fan another baseball to replace it. And now Keith McDonald will have that baseball with him forever.
79th in history to do it.
They want a curtain call.
I think his teammates have got to push him out there. He may not understand or even feel that it's appropriate for a 27-year-old rookie. Fans, I don't think are going to settle for anything less than a curtain call. Strike one to Dunston.
You know, this is just another situation that shows you why Mark McGwire fell in love with the fans here in St. Louis. 14-3 and a standing ovation.
First of all, to have a crowd of 46,000 and at least I'm going to guess 30,000 was still around here in the 8th inning of an 11-run game. That's a pretty good indication that they're into their baseball. But to appreciate the moment and to want to enhance the moment as much as they can, for Keith McDonald just adds to that well-deserved tag that they get here. Dunston rolls one to Castro for out number 2, and we roll to Bristol and check in with John Bucci-Gross.
Exciting stuff at Wrigley Field. The Pirates are down by 1, top of the 9th, and Jason Kendall is clutch and clutches everything in life. A 2-run homer to give the Pirates a 1-run lead. They've added a couple of more. Will Cordero, next batter. Rick Aguilera throwing BP, and the Pirates are taking advantage, 7-4.
Another reason you got to stick around, because you never know what you're going to see. Pinch hitting for Jim Edmonds. Pitcher Rick Ankiel. Why? Well, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and a .286 average this year. So you're thinking, 8th inning, why should I still watch this? Well, you've seen 2 moments. You get to see those socks too. Vintage Bob Gibson era socks.
They tell me this kid could be an everyday outfielder at the big league level. We know he's got the arm.
Yeah, the arm is 6-3 with a 3.44 ERA, which is best among the Cardinal starters. 86 strikeouts and 86 in the 3rd inning. That's the arm. And then you throw in the stick. And you really got a guy to watch for who knows how long, 10, 15 years.
As a baseball fan, hopefully. Now, if you're not a Cardinal fan and you're a fan of another team in the National League Central, then no, you don't want him around that long. This kid is electric, boy.
And shows his ability to hang in there and extend Larkin.
Well, you can see the difference between a good hitting pitcher and just flat out a good hitter is what Ankiel's doing here. He's fouling off good pitches in hopes that the pitcher makes a mistake and he can do some damage. A good hitting pitcher is a guy that can just hit a fastball when it's a fastball count.
Another 1-2 from Larkin, and down he goes. Well, it was fun to watch. McDonald had more fun than anybody in the Cardinal 8th inning. He joins a very select list of now 79 to homer in their first major league at bat. Top of the 9th inning with the Cardinals trying to finish up a 14-3 statement in the first of this 3-game series with second place Cincinnati and extend their lead over the Reds to 9 games. Out for another inning, Mike Matthews. That's about the only thing that's the same defensively for Cincinnati, for St. Louis, as Pokey Reese leads things off for Cincinnati. Pair of strikeouts in an 0-for-3 afternoon, but a sparkling defensive play.
The thing it shows me here is that if in the game tomorrow night they need to get Griffey Jr. out in the 7th or 8th inning, Tony La Russa is not going to use his only left-handed pitcher to do that. Bring Matthews out for the 2nd inning. He's probably done for tomorrow night. So it's going to be a right-handed pitcher that he tries to get Jr. out with. I'll tell you one thing I liked a lot that Tony La Russa did right there. By putting Ankiel up there to hit, he could have got Ray Langford out there and maybe added to it or whatever. But Langford didn't need the at-bat, and Ankiel might have needed it. It's going to be about a week in between starts for the young left-hander. And when he does go out, all he gets to see in between starts is batting practice pitches. Go out there and let him see a live bat. That kid's going to win some ball games with his bat, and I think Tony La Russa is helping him do that with that opportunity to hit.
Added bonus, fans seem to enjoy. Left field, and the new left fielder is Ray Langford, who comes in defensively, one of a multitude of changes This game never really close. Not after the error by Casey at first, allowing Dunston to score ahead of the first of two two-run home runs by Jim Edmonds. Andy Bennis in 6 innings got Junior one of his 8 strikeouts. Walked 2, allowed only 2 runs on 6 hits. So Bennis will improve to 9-3. Ron Vallone, a disaster. 47 pitches, still couldn't get out of the first. 10 walks, 4 runs scoring off walks. Served up by the Red staff. Cardinals in scoring position, 11 RBIs, 7 out of 16. Edmonds leading the way. 1-1 to Chris Steins. Scott Williamson went 3 1/3, had to throw 71 pitches. He's done for a few days. And then give Andy Larkin some credit for finishing things up and not allowing things to get any deeper into the Reds bullpen.
I don't know whose spot that he's going to take, but I would expect to see Scott Williamson in the rotation right after the All-Star break. Ron Vallone, you can't forget, even though he wasn't effective today, he struggled as of late. He still got 7 wins. Coming into today's ball game, we're just at the halfway point. Both of these clubs have played 81 ball games, and there's 81 left to go.
Back to the screen. All right, let's try and catch you up defensively. Third base, that is now Paquette, who moves from second. Shortstop, that's now Dunston,
who wasn't left, who went to third.
Yeah, second base now Fernando Vina, just activated today off the hamstring. Mike Matheny moves from catcher to first. Big Mac sits out a half inning. McDonald stays in to catch Matthews. After his electrifying moment, Langford, who didn't pinch hit, does come in defensively in left, moving J.D. Drew to center. He's played all 3 outfield positions now. And Thomas Howard stays in and plays right. Everything else is exactly the same.
Could you do that for me one more time here?
Not a chance. They keep records. That's got to be a record. Most defensive changes 1 inning. I bet somebody somewhere has that. 1-2 again to Steins. Finally a fair ball, backhanded by Dunston, and they're out away.
I remember when Sean Dunston was the #1 pick in the country for the Chicago Cubs. Drafted below him was a guy named Dwight Gooden. And the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals at that time was Whitey Herzog when they both got to the big leagues. And Herzog said, now I know why Dunston was drafted in front of Dwight Gooden. You just saw it right there. He said Dunston's got a better arm than Gooden does. And boy, I'll tell you what, I never saw an infielder that had a better arm than him.
Michael Tucker drives one hard but foul. 2 outs in the 9th inning. One of the few bright spots for Cincinnati today. Tucker's solo homer. Reading Mark Thompson, the 7th inning, his 10th of the year. So the Reds thought they had established just a smidgen of momentum, winning 3 out of 4, including 2 in a row over the weekend at Arizona, and it disappears literally in 1 inning. Jack McKeon down 6-0 before he even got up for the 2nd time. His lineup in the 2nd inning. 1-2 to Tucker.
Well, Pete Harnish got the Reds going in Arizona. They can only hope that he can do it again in the 2nd game of the series here tomorrow night.
Reds will again fall 2 games under 500. Cardinals improved to 49 and 33 at the moment, tied with Atlanta for the best record in the National League. What a one-year turnaround. Winners 10 of their last 14, 16 of their last 21. 9.5 games they have picked up on the Reds over the last month. Fourth of July sellout house of 46,022. Many of whom are still here to enjoy the final pitch. That wasn't quite it. 3-2.
I don't think even Michael Tucker would have argued if home plate umpire Ron Copel would have called that one.
Ripped fair by a foot. Extra bases for Tucker. Howard gets it back in. A double. Again, a lot more 4th of July baseball coming your way on ESPN and ESPN2 right here. Expos, Braves, or the Red Sox and the Twins coming up here on ESPN2 at 7. At 10, 7 Pacific, Mariners, Angels, or some will see the Rockies and the Giants. $16 games in the majors, and we've got 12 of them, one way or the other, on ESPN and ESPN2. Juan Castro. Line to right in his only appearance. He replaced Barry Larkin in the 6th inning. Reds see their first 2-game winning streak in a month end at 2.
Yeah, and unfortunately for them, it ended right in the bottom of the 1st inning. And when you give up a touchdown like that, even with as good an offense as they've got, it's just so difficult to come back. And credit to the Cardinals for not just stopping there. They continue to add to that, scoring in the 2nd, the 3rd, and then a couple more later on.
Again, Coco won't bring up strike 3. Oh, the Cardinals wrung everything they could out of every at-bat. Right up to McDonald's homer in his first at-bat. Thompson and Matthews strong out of the bullpen behind Bennis. Another one out of play. Still 1-2 to Castro.
They're on the trip.
So if the Reds were thinking sweep, out the window now, absolutely imperative that they get the next 2. And in the series 7 back. And you've still got a glimmer. Pop straight up, but it will again drift back 8-10 rows deep.
Well, it just shows you how good Andy Bennis was today. Everybody throughout the lineup, the positions 1 through 9, has struck out, and it has not been a generous strike zone behind home plate. What you've gotten, you've had to earn. It shows you how good Andy Bennis' stuff was once again today. As you said, he's going to win his 9th game.
Castro hanging in. Bennis has even an average second half for him. And the Cardinals can really ride him a long way. Already 9-3.
You mentioned his career numbers, that being Andy Bennis after the All-Star break. Well, he's won 40 of his last 57 decisions during that period. Big Train just, you know, he's kind of like one of those heavier dogs that you bet on at the dog track. I mean, you don't have to worry about how they get out of the gate. You know they're going to have that speed to finish the race with, and that's the way it's been for the Big Train.
Close, but not close enough again. 2-2. Culp was in shape. If he still wants to be out there at 3.5 hours in his way.
It's almost comical now. I mean, either one of those last two fastballs was close enough and has been called a strike at one time or another during the course of the day.
How about the 2-2? Cards have Kyle already double figures in wins, 11-5. Garrett Stevenson and Bennis both at 9 wins, the best rotation in terms of wins in baseball. 41 of the 49 team victories run up by the starters. Benkin 6-6 going tomorrow. This 2-2 is fair, but it gets past Paquette. Bit of a short arm and through the hole for a base hit by Castro. Tucker moves to third with 2 outs.
Right fielder Al Morris.
This would be Griffey's spot, but he was replaced defensively, and it's Hal Morris, who will bat with 2 on and 2 out. Morris, the veteran, at .232 with 1 home run for the year. Well, not quite 2/3 of the Reds' games this year. So Matthews will try and finish off Morris and get the win in the books. And again, since '95 in the 6th division format, of the 27 teams in first place 4th of July, 22 went on to win the division that year. The exceptions, Rockies, Angels, both in '95. Astros the next year, the Angels again in '98. And the Giants last year. Precedent strongly in the Cardinals' favor. That was the Reds' current level of play. 0-2 to Morris. Got him at last. Matthews finishes it for Bennis, and the Cardinals take a 14-3 win in the first of this 3-game series over Cincinnati. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Part of the Go Network. Go.com. For Rick Sutcliffe, Dave Barnett, so long, and happy 4th of July from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Inside Cart is next.